and welcome back to another episode of the Otter Players Podcast, episode 61, where we thought it was going to be a light week, but plenty has definitely happened. The insane Xbox price hikes, GTA 6 delayed, the Borderlands state of play, and much, much more. But we're going to go ahead and get into it. Welcome back, and we're going to start with Weave. How are you, man? And what have you been playing?
Yeah, I'm good. Good. I just came back from our local anime con, so I'm a bit poor today, but yeah, it was worth it.
Okay.
Um, I've been playing. I've uh, continued a bit with Oblivion after our last show. Finally made it out of the sewers, and then I got reminded again why I didn't don't like first person RPGs. Uh, I mean, it look, if you like it, great, and I mean, I have to admit, it looks great.
Yeah.
But underneath it, it's still still that same game. So you really notice that when you go into town and then enter like a tavern, and then there are all these NPCs that are just like walking in random directions and just shouting at you for no apparent reason, and just reiterating the same piece of dialogue. Like, yeah, this game is ancient.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah. So I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Um, so after that, I what did else I play? I played a bit of. I tried Balatro, but I immediately got bored by it.
Okay.
So yeah, so I figured, yeah, um, yeah, no, that's not gonna hold me over. And finally, on Tuesday, my copy of Expedition 33 arrived, so I could finally, well, start again. And I don't know what it is, but for some reason, playing on PlayStation just made me feel things more than playing on Xbox.
Okay.
Like, yeah, I mean,
He said I
I'm
got
not
the
kidding.
definitive edition.
Like that
Xbox
opening.
hater IT?
I paid for it, so I'm allowed to hate. But yeah, I mean, I like when I played that scene on the Xbox and Game Pass like the first time, the opening scene. I'm like, yeah, cool. And when I played it again on PlayStation, I got a bit moist. So yeah, there you go.
He said that
PlayStation,
PS5 Pro doing its job.
absolutely, absolutely, it has that magic touch. So yeah. So yeah, and yeah, have been playing it ever since. I'm not as far in as you guys, obviously, because you had a little more time with it.
Mm-hmm.
And not as far as I want to be. Like I just finally got Mael to join my party, so finally I have a party of three.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm way too early into get through the all the intricacies of the gameplay and the story, but everything I've seen so far is amazing. The story is absolutely gripping. The art design is incredible. The gameplay is really fun. The whole parrying and dodging mechanics are absolutely elevating the gameplay. It's a brilliant decision of the team. Um, and yeah, I mean, I like the characters, I like their interactions. They really feel alive. Um, yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess there's nothing else I can say. It's an amazing game, and yeah, I think GTA 6 dodged a bullet there. They saw that like, yeah, we're out of here this year because we have no chance against this game, because I'm pretty sure this is going to be GOTY of this year. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm gonna continue playing this for the coming weeks, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens next. So yeah.
That's what's up. Yeah, man. I'm not really sure. It's definitely in contention for game of taking the most screenshots in. I mean, it's just beautiful. It just keeps stopping, and I mean, it doesn't even have a photo mode, but yeah, you can still get some really gorgeous shots, and just like you said, the art direction, character interactions, all these things, and you're only just really getting able to dig in. So it's gonna be a lot of fun. I know I was grinding nonstop last night, um, trying to get my characters in a place I was comfortable with. Um, and of course, in typical JRPG fashion, I overgrinded because, once I found a spot, I was like, well, I would really like to not leave until I get this skill, or things that are completely unnecessary, because I definitely passed uh, the level that I've seen some people beat the game at. So I know I'm like way over leveled because I went and beat something that was outside of an area before where I was, and I just like smacked him and one shotted him. So I was like, yeah, I might have
Damn.
overdone it a little bit.
What level are you?
I am level 61,
Oh,
but yeah, like you said, a lot of fun so far.
Okay,
So
so when I was asking you where this spot was, and you said I was too high
you
to
were
use
too
it,
high because
you s-
I was not
nah, you surpassed
61.
me now. Okay,
I
okay,
was
but now
not
you are
60.
though. So
Yeah, but that's
apparently
a
you were
different.
leveling up to
No,
that point.
see,
Yes,
that's what you get for
yes,
assuming, because that's a different spot.
no. Okay, so you found another spot
But
in the
you
time
were
that I was,
that you
talking
were
to you.
that
Okay,
you know that you were asleep.
okay. Oh, you just happened to find it after I fell asleep. Okay, that's very convenient
I
of
went
you.
up
I'm just gonna
because
say that.
I went on YouTube and found another place.
Oh, okay. Oh,
Yes.
okay.
Mhm.
Got it.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
All right. Well, we know what you've been playing, but Morgan, how are you this week, and how have you been enjoying
I'm a little pissed
Expedition
because
33?
you have surpassed me um in level, especially when I asked you where this spot was, and you're like, "Oh no, it's fine. You're ahead of me, so it's cool." And then you just, overnight decided to level up higher than me. So that's perfectly fine, Tony. Um, but yeah, I've been playing Expedition 33. Uh, just like everybody else, I don't really have anything else to add, really. Enjoying the game, having fun, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. Yeah, I don't think any of us could really pull ourselves away from it at this point. Uh, it really is just that good. Um, I think Priscilla 100%ed it earlier, so uh,
wow. Congratulations.
yeah, yeah, she's been destroying her sleep schedule profusely. In the meantime, that she's been enjoying this game, so it's been a lot of fun. Um, but yeah, Omar, how are you, sir? And what have you been playing?
So, I'm fine. What I've been playing, a few things. First off, another Metrovania. We're not gonna talk about that. Besides that, I started the Borderlands 3 run with friends, and for preparation for Borderlands 4, um, I can't stress this enough. Shout out to Borderlands, shout out to Gearbox. Apparently, in one DLC, which I didn't play, they introduced a thing where you can pick up any type of loot that you mark and it gets sold automatically. You don't even need to go and sell it at a shop. Like, that's genius. That's insane. I I am considering to say that Gearbox have the best quality of life when it comes to games.
Yeah,
First off, money, auto pickup, uh, what you call it, um, then it became bullet auto pickup, ammo, and then it shield booster auto pickup, and now guns, you can pick them up and sell them automatically. Like, that's insane. The only thing that would have made it better if it became auto pickup, which I would not be surprised if they introduced that in 4.
Does
And
that mean that we're gonna have to hear you complain every time a game doesn't have it. Yeah.
No, because I had already accepted that Borderlands is on its league of its own.
Hmm.
Oh
Okay, I'm
man.
gonna hold
That's
you
the
to that.
reality.
I'm gonna hold you
Alright,
to that.
if I want to complain, I would have complained long time ago. Because in 3 they have one of the best, if not the best, fast travel system. Now that 4 is about to be out, 4 is gonna have the best fast travel system. I'm
Okay.
not sure if it's in history of gaming, but one of
I'm
the
just
best.
saying, because when you find a mechanic you like, you tend to
Grab.
complain when other
He
games don't have that.
does tend to gravitate towards that.
Yeah, at some
Yeah.
point I agree with you, but I had to accept that not everyone is gonna follow through
Oh
with
man, this man
with
grew in 2 minutes. I'm proud of you.
no, it's just the reality of things. But yeah, no. And besides that, I started Activision 3 again. Again, it's an addiction, especially when you are that
But you
good
started
at
over.
the. Sorry?
You started over.
No, I took a break and I'm back at it again.
Oh,
That's what I meant to
okay.
say. And right now, fighting a mini boss that I'm supposed to be doing it at a way different level. But hey, I'm throwing myself at it and see for a few hours if I can beat it. Cause he take what? How many turns between me and him? One, two, three, four. He take 5 turns. I take 1 turn, which is awesome. Cause every time I parry him, I'm dealing damage. But yeah, let's get to the topic.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of what I've seen people going through. It's pretty funny to
It
watch people's
it
experiences with different bosses because a lot of
it
people are
make
starting
you
it early.
it make you feel like a beast, dude. Like especially when you're that good at parry, and some enemies are easy parable, other are not. But this one is super easy. Sometimes the timing becomes up, which then one shot me. But besides that, if you parry, you feel like a boss.
Yeah, no, I've seen there's one boss that is recommended that you wait until you can break the 999 barrier to fight, and I saw somebody did it at level 45, and he said it took him 3.5 hours. I was like, I do not want to fight a boss that's gonna take me 3.5 hours just to get
Apparently,
a
this boss
picto.
that I'm doing right now is someone took him 5 hours, and other took him 2 hours. Because mostly I'm fighting it at level 6 or 5, while you're supposed to fighting it when you have 3 characters or more. Cause he is he is bulky. This is why I just wish I knew what level this thing is.
You're fighting him at level 6.
I'm level 6 right now. Yeah, I'm fighting him.
Oh my god. I already know what you're fighting. Jesus, man. Good luck with that.
How do you know what I'm fighting?
Because it's the same thing everybody fought at that level.
Uh, uh, the best?
I mean, I don't remember his name because I didn't fight him. I went about my
Is it
merry
the
way.
is it the pink one?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm fighting.
Yeah, as I said, I know what you're fighting. You're level 6. I was like, there ain't but so much you could be fighting. So yeah, I know. Everybody goes by that. I'll go
Told me
back and
that,
I'll go
dude.
back and kill him later. I'm not dealing with that right
Dude,
now.
This man
you,
really trying
I,
to take on this
where is,
that thing at level 6. Oh my god. Oh
Yeah,
my
I
god.
have,
I'm not doing that.
no,
We were
uh,
both
I feel
higher
like
than
you would
that.
okay,
be wasting.
but what's
I feel
the,
like you'd be wasting more of your time to do
no,
that
but
instead of just going.
hey, I'm podcasting, I'm doing it, it's simple. My thing is,
Okay.
what do you get out of one-shotting him, or
I mean,
over-leveling,
okay, so
like, where
I'm
is
not
that,
gonna one shot him though.
What? Yeah, I'm not. Well, nobody's one-shotting. But what do you get out of hacking at him for 3 hours?
um,
Exactly nothing.
right?
Yeah, I mean it's not.
Exactly. So how you
Because
gonna
it's
ask that
not
question?
it's not pride,
Like,
it's not pride, but more like self-focus. type of
Yeah, but
accomplishment.
okay.
Exactly. So you get nothing out of it. So it makes no sense
It,
why you would be
it's
hacking away at it for 3 hours when you
it's
could have just
it's
used those
inter-
3 hours to continue the story and then just come back and beat him later.
Exactly. Yeah, you're gonna have to learn to let stuff go. There are a lot of bosses
Yeah,
in this
because if you
game.
gonna do,
You
yeah,
can't be
there's a
doing
lot of
that.
bosses. So if you're gonna do this for every single boss where you feel the need to hack at them for 3 hours, you're gonna be on this game forever.
hey, at least with that one, I'm trying my luck. But afterward, I
No,
don't.
you're not trying your luck. You're just stubborn.
No, I don't like being like. I don't like how Ine handle it. He's literally a whale. I don't like being a whale. I like to
You
challenge
don't have to
myself.
be a whale. I wasn't a whale when I fought it. It didn't. I didn't one shot him when I came back, but it was a good. It was a good battle. It was like a good back and forth. It took me like 10 minutes. It wasn't a one shot.
Yeah.
I'm not
I
gonna
think
sit there for
you was
three hours.
you was level 15 or something.
Well, that's what I'm saying. You should probably, continue along with the story and not spend that much time on just that
I
boss.
mean, it's a hidden boss. It's there. It's there for me to kill. I'm curious what I'm gonna get out of
I
it
mean, it's
though.
not even
Well,
really
how much?
hidden. It's kind of a joke. They kind of
That's
set
my
you
point.
up.
See, because if you spend that long time doing it and you feel like you didn't get enough out of it, see, that's gonna be on you. You'll be
Morgan,
like, oh my,
you're talking to the dude that played Final
yes,
Fantasy
I know.
12
I'm
at
talking to the
level
most
1
stubborn gamer I know. I know. I'm
and
aware.
killed an
I'm
admin.
aware.
So
I'm
I have
aware because
always been
my
like
problem
that.
is that we got to hear you complain about it later because you do stuff like this and then
No.
we got to
I
hear you whine about
no.
it in the chat.
There is a difference between me complaining about uh Perry being inconsistent or the lack of what you call it a minimap versus me complaining about me not doing enough damage to a boss that I'm playing hard on hard mode and I'm under leveled. Absolutely, I'm not gonna complain about that. That makes no
No,
sense.
I'm just saying if you beat it eventually and you feel like you didn't get enough of a reward, we're gonna have to hear
Then
about it.
that why would I?
Well,
Let's move on.
I think you're forgetting that for several instances, we've had entire discussions about you not feeling like you got a good enough reward for beating something. So we're
Yeah,
explaining
but
the
I wouldn't.
timing that the time that you are spending on this is it's in proportionate to whatever the reward is going to
To
be because you're
yeah,
not
to
supposed to
whatever you're
fight
gonna
it
get.
yet. Like
Getting
it's
some.
literally a setup. Like they tell you, like me and Morgan were literally laughing about it when it first happened because she did it before me, and then I went but right behind her, and I still did it despite what she said because what they tell you is, hey, walk toward the coral area, and it purposely kind of looks like coral before you get to the area you're supposed to go to, and everybody ran into that guy and either got one
Mhm.
shot or just realized they weren't supposed to be over there, and then you leave
They
and then you
even
come
oh
back.
fuck, I died. They even warn you
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
danger.
says danger, but I'm gonna still go check it
I'm
Yeah,
out.
surprised that the man
I'll
who
figure it out.
has
Yeah,
been complaining about the parry would want to take on a boss that requires a lot of parry.
Yeah,
because I literally just said some enemies are easy parable. This is easy parable for the most part.
Oh,
I
okay.
can almost parry with my outcrow with this
Oh,
one.
okay.
It's that
Okay.
easy.
yeah, but then if you
Hmm.
get hit, like
Yeah, I
it's
don't like
over.
I did. It's over. Yeah, this is why Richmond versus
This man about to spend 2 hours doing
Black
this and then get
Cannon.
hit and then no, never mind. Go.
Like trust me, I know
It's
I'm
because
a
fine.
Black Cannon.
I had I had a an enemy I could parry like 99% of the time, and it was still like whenever I would get
Cause
hit, it was still
yeah,
pretty rough.
I
So
got to a boss the same way a couple nights ago where I could parry him easily, but my damage wasn't doing anything. It was barely taking anything off. And I like
yeah,
after like 10 minutes, I was just like, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna sit here for the because it's gonna take me to like 3 or 4 hours to build like the parry was easy, but I'm just not it's not fun. I'm not gonna sit here and parry this man for 4 hours just to beat him. I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm just gonna keep going. Like it got
exactly.
boring. I was just like,
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yes,
That's what I'm saying. That's part of the problem where he's at, right? He didn't even have enough skills on the board. to be dealing with this thing. That's like the issue. Like
Yeah,
it's you need
he ain't got no. He barely got any Pictos or Luminous.
loot
Like
Pictos, Lumina,
I have
like
a few. I have a few. Like,
I
I
said, you
do clip.
barely got any,
yeah,
which is true.
you barely have any. But yeah,
I have like
you'll
five,
get
I
to it.
think.
But
I know. I'm scratching the surface. But got to that.
I mean,
Oh, fuck.
you just scratching air at this point. You didn't even touch the game at this
No,
point.
I'm talking about the amount of picked out I have.
Yeah.
Because I know there's a lot of them.
Yeah. I can't wait for you to understand how how in the beginning you are, but you'll understand once you start moving along.
No, I know. I know. I'm just literally in Act 1. Not even Act 1 yet. I know.
Yeah. But yeah, obviously we're all still playing that. And obviously it's a lot of fun. We're all at obviously varying different points. But yeah, we got a couple people in the chat that are playing it as well. I see Thrifty talking about a lantern boss. I don't know which boss you're talking about. You have to DM me the name or something, because there are multiple. There's actually multiple bosses with the lantern. So you could be talking about several bosses at this point, because there's definitely a couple with that mechanic. But yeah, most of them are pretty tough. So I get that. And apparently the Harley Davidson entire like store is passing my house right now. All of a sudden, it sounds like thunder going down the street. Like I'm like, yo, what? I'm like, how many motorcycles is that? Like Jesus. But anyway, yeah, we'll jump into our first topic. Obviously, the big thing in the room, obviously with Expedition 33, and a number of other things going on that we've talked about between here and a couple of friends with the podcast. Um, we have had a discussion about where the industry is headed, and ultimately, if we feel like, I guess, as I have phrased it, a soft reset is upon us. Because at first, people always refer things to like, I don't know why we do that in the gaming industry, like the harshest thing, where like industry crash, and it's like, well, the industry is definitely not going to crash, um, but it does feel like we're in a state of like a soft reset where you have games like Expedition 33 with developer where there's a clear level of developer passion, and then you have the corporate will. The you know did this project get greenlit? Why was this other project greenlit? Trend chasing. Companies switching up their entire thought process in order to try and chase money. Thinking that one or two changes to their games or altering their franchises entirely is going to result in unimaginable levels of profit, and so on and so forth. We're at a point where we're now seeing a lot smaller teams achieve some incredible games. Obviously, the big thing, being the Expedition 33 team with a fairly small team. Despite using Unreal Engine, as some people have pointed out, and the thousands of people that work on that, regardless, most people could get a hold of the Unreal Engine via subscription or whatnot, and you still couldn't make a game like Expedition 33. So it's not to take anything away from the developers and what they achieved with Expedition 33, because it is incredible what they have achieved with that engine. Um, but yeah, obviously we've also seen where we've had comments from Warner Brothers where they were stating single player so volatile, only to just turn around and have their two multiplayer games just do terribly, right? So like I said, you've kind of got where a lot of the developers, we've had this part where everybody's talking about layoffs and so on and so forth, but it seems like at the same time it's kind of doing some good. And I say that because a lot of these teams are working with a lot of the veterans that they did leave these other studios with, and forming smaller studios, getting the funding they need, because they're such a senior team, and finally getting to create the projects they really want to create, and having the tools to create them faster while also not sacrificing, visual fidelity, art direction, and all these other great things that we've seen from a lot of these projects. Another one that we've definitely been following pretty heavily, that looks like it could be the next one, is obviously Exodus, which is, a bunch of former uh, BioWare developers who, again, have been talking very similar to the way, we've been following the Expedition 33 team. The level of passion behind this team, the lore building, everything that they've been doing, and just discussing over time. Um, so I think as we come into this kind of era, um, where it's obviously you've got the big juggernauts that ultimately feel like they can't fail, the GTA 6s and so on and so forth, but we've also got these ballooning budgets that we keep hearing about, where these teams are way too big, way too massive, and it's costing so much with so little return, unless these games are breaking 8 to 10 million in sales. um, it's a question, do we feel like we're at a point where we're seeing a reset happen almost in the industry, where you feel like it's balancing out? They'll find like a comfortable area to coexist, with each other, or right, or is it going to maintain that kind of oil and water where we feel like we're at now, where it's like the AAA is like, nah, we're gonna 100% stay away from that. We don't really care what they did. We're just gonna keep doing these crazy budgets, or feel like there's going to be like a happy medium in between. Where do we feel like the industry is headed, based on all these things that we see happening right now? The thriving indie market versus the AAA, the AA space, and so on. How are you feeling about things?
Um, Good question. Uh, yeah, I mean, as you said, Expedition is sort of a wake-up call, in the sense that, yeah, like I said, they are these ballooning budgets that we keep hearing about, that are, yeah, basically using an excuse, right, to say, yeah, that's the reason why nobody's taking risks, or that's why, we need to increase prices. And yeah, and then Expedition 33 comes along and produces, AAA quality uh, game experience, it's absolutely fantastic, and yeah, at a basically at a bargain price, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they're kind of showing us, yeah, you don't need to spend, hundreds of millions of dollars to make a great game. It's not to say that there's no place for those games. Let's be clear. I mean,
Exactly.
if you're looking at, like, yeah, obviously, of course, Naughty Dog, like, or Insomniac, or Guerrilla Games like Santa Monica, all the PlayStation games. But you can see where the money went, right?
Absolutely.
Uh, they make incredibly polished experiences that look like it's as the old, sort of, I guess, motto was, or a philosophy of Sean Lane was, like, yeah, you need to either do something first, or unique, or be the best, if you're doing something. And yeah, that's what the PlayStation studios have been doing, and it shows, and yeah, that costs a lot of money. uh, but I guess the advantage that these studios have is that they're not necessarily there to make all the money. They're there to promote a console, and then you have the liberty to spend that much money without forcing yourself to put in microtransactions. Uh, you know. Uh, Make it, yeah, okay. And I know they're now heavily investing, or have heavily invested in games as a service routes, but it's not necessarily the case for for those studios that are making those single player experiences, that they have to pivot, which is something you would see with third party publishers, like we've both seen with Dragon Age Veilguard, perfect example, because that game, while I did like it, came out, and unfortunately wasn't a huge success, at least in terms of what EA was expecting. Um, and yeah, that game was a victim of EA's yeah meddling, because they, after I think after Anthem failed, they want to pivot the game to a games as a service game, and then they pivoted back again to what obviously they should have made, a single player RPG experience. But then a lot of time passed, a lot of money was wasted, and you ended up with essentially an incomplete game. As in, it is a complete game, but you see that they made cuts. It was less ambitious than initially wanted. Um, and yeah, and that shows, and that unfortunately, yeah, ends up you know basically blowing up in your face, because you spend a lot of money on this, and it's not gonna meet expectations, because yeah, you're not showing it, right? You're not showing that this is a game that had that much money spent on it. um, and that's kind of a problem here when you're dealing with these massive publishers with these incredible scopes for their games, that you're yeah running the risk that these games will become failures because of meddling, because of you're trying to nickel and dime it. Uh, but yeah, also you could of course go the Ubisoft route, where you're making these games incredibly bloated to the
Mm-hmm.
point where you're getting tired of playing those games while they're supposed to give you relaxation. And I mean, I've heard this from other people, so, like friends I've talked to who are also gamers, and tell like, yeah, they're kind of at a point where they're like, I don't really need necessarily a game that's hundreds of hours long,
Yeah.
and just giving me busy work. I just want to have like a good you very concise, very focused experience. That if it's 40 hours long and it's absolutely a blast, that's fine, because it's giving you, that's kind of the problem that I also have in general with the whole, like, yeah, maybe a bit of sidetrack, but I was thinking about, like, when I was initially playing Expedition on Game Pass, and then I decided, okay, stop it, because I want to get the physical version of it, and I was in the meantime looking at other games that are in the service, and I'm like, yeah, look, I'm trying these games out, and that's fine. That it's great that you have to have that option, but and I don't think, like, the biggest problem what I have with Game Pass is not the fact that you don't necessarily own those games, but it respect your time,
Yeah.
because just like with Netflix, if you're um, yeah, if you subscribe to it for that one show that you want to watch, or that one movie, and then okay, you watch it, your subscription is still ongoing, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna just see if is there anything that's interesting, and then you're maybe wasting an hour in the movie, and only to find out, yeah, this is actually kind of bad. Like, I don't really want to continue watching it. And that's kind of the thing that I have with Game Pass, in the sense that it doesn't respect your time, because you're kind of forcing yourself to play something you don't actually necessarily want to play the most right now. And that's what we're all struggling with. Like, it's not the money aspect of it. Yeah, sure, it doesn't help that games are going to get $80 or more, but it's a time aspect, because I don't have the time to play all the games I want. There's so many games on my backlog right now.
Yeah.
So in that sense, getting back on topic, is yeah, like games like, and to be fair, like the last, while I haven't played a lot of it, the last Assassin's Creed game so far is pretty good. But all Assassin's Creed games kind of suffer from that the bloating of content, where you have to, like, that's sort of what turned me off of Unity, because I played Syndicate first and then Unity, so I guess kind of that didn't help, because a lot of the missions are basically the same,
Yeah.
or the same structure, but they're more fleshed out in Syndicate, so you're playing the sort of prototypes, the less interesting version of those missions. Um, and that's kind of turned me off because, and then I saw this map with all that stuff that I had to do, and it's like, yeah, I really don't want to do this. Like I'm so overwhelmed by this. I'm like, I just want to have a very, concise, it doesn't necessarily have to be linear, but at least, an experience that's crafted, that doesn't feel like it's procedural, or you're just putting busy work on there, but just everything
Just to make it as
sort
big
of
as possible.
services. Yeah, yeah. I mean, and like I said, like we will always go back to The Witcher 3 as a perfect example of, yeah, it's a massive world, yeah, and there's lots of stuff to do, but it doesn't get boring because everything is so well crafted. All these every side mission is interesting, has shades of gray to it, has great writing. Like, yeah, I mean, give me that. Cool. I don't mind playing a 100-hour game, but every hour I spend is of the highest quality. Unlike, if you have to get through all the grind, all the boring stuff, and until you actually either level up enough, or are allowed to proceed with the story, or if you want to get the plat, of course, you have to do some extra work, and all of that, that adds up to, yeah, to bloat, right? And I think that's part of the problem, that I've seen, at least observed in the years, especially with everything, with especially game journalists love when you go open world. Let's also turn me off for the most recent Zelda games, right? The mainline titles, because, yeah, I don't need an open world Zelda game. I know technically you could argue it's always sort of an open world top down perspective. But yeah, it was still sort of guide because you naturally progress you got a new item that allows you to open up more of the map, but uh, it was still much more linear in a fashion. And like, I understand that some people like the idea of, yeah, I'm nobody holding my hand. I can do whatever. I'm giving all the tools. There's a sandbox, but sandbox to me are sort of the antithesis of actual enjoying a game. Because, yeah, I mean, if I have to make my own fun, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, why the hell am I paying, 70, $80 uh for a game that's supposed to give me a crafted experience? Like, yeah, sure, games are an interactive medium, so you have to do something. You don't experience them passively like a movie, but uh, you no, you still don't want to, basically, it shouldn't feel like work, right? That's kind of the problem I have with a lot of these games, that either you know uh, put you in the sandbox, or uh, add a lot of stuff just to keep you in the game, which probably cynically also is a way to, like, I remember, I think it was Origins, right? It had sort of these XP boosters you could buy, because a lot of enemies were level, essentially, yeah, level cap. At least you needed to be a certain level to not get not die with one shot or something like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's sort of the cynical aspect of it. That's why they're trying to keep you in that game. So, sort of a live service game without being a live service game. Um, but just get having the same effect, right? They're making it so unfun to play it, normally, that they're sort of enticing you to, take the easy route. Um, yeah, I mean, I think, again, back to Expedition, it's a perfect example of, yeah, how can you achieve something without making it look like a uh, you know uh, indie, right, like a pixel art indie, which are fine too, but you obviously see the difference there. Yeah, they didn't spend 100 million. Yeah, obviously you can see that because this looks like somebody made it in his garage or whatever. All due respect, but still, it doesn't take a studio with 100 people to make a game like that. And here we see a game, that looks like it could have come from a studio of 100 people and had like
Exactly.
30 people in the end. And it looks amazing, plays amazing, and I think you also yeah, they also mentioned I read an article about how they made it, with all the tools they had from the Unreal 5 engine. And yeah, it's sort of interesting to see, how, because we heard a lot of negative things, in the past, and we've seen, because the engine does have some issues, right? And
It
here we
does.
see, how it can work, and for a small studio with, I guess all these tools are very helpful, for um, yeah, for if you're a small studio, you don't have hundreds of people who can just handcraft basically everything, do themselves, or use your own tools, or even your own engine. I think what they said, like, you have to be careful considering the engine, like you have to work with it, not against it. So if you know if you want to do things that the engine can handle well, yeah, then maybe you shouldn't get that engine.
Yeah.
I think that's the perfect lesson, um, for small developers to see, this is something we can achieve. And yeah, of course, there will be a lot of studios who think, oh yeah, I can do this too, and they will fail, because that's the way things are. Um, but it does show that it is possible. And yeah, I do hope, like I said, I hope that this not just a wake up call, as we've heard on Twitter and YouTube, that, okay, yeah, Square Enix should take notes. Like, this is sort of the Final Fantasy we want, and not 16, which is fair, but I think probably the bigger, you know, uh, the bigger talking point, what you want to address here is the approach of making games.
Exactly.
Yeah, this shows you don't necessarily have to have you know a studio with 100 people, or spend 100 million, $200 million to craft an incredible experience that looks great, that sort of scratches that itch, right? People, of course, despite the fact that we say graphics don't matter, a lot of people love to see a game that looks amazing. And here you see an example of a game that looks amazing, plays amazing, and didn't cost, the quarter of the moon, So,
Hmm.
yeah, I mean that this, I hope that indeed this is sort of and I think, yeah, it's not the first time. I mean, we've had, of course, Larian with Baldur's Gate 3. I also don't think that that game is like had a quadruple A budget stuff. These days, I guess the standard is, um, and was incredibly successful. And yeah, of course, it doesn't mean that everybody can be that successful. I think that that's the worst lesson you can take from this. Is just, oh, you just have to make a copy of this now, or with more money. The
Yeah.
lesson here is, you have a very clear,
Wait,
you know goal, a very concise scope of what you want to do. Know that you don't necessarily need to, spend a limited amount of money to achieve that. And I think the most important part is, aside from the passion, of course, of the people involved, that you also need to give them for the creative freedom. Like, if you give developers creative freedom and appropriate budget, then you don't have that discussion. You don't have that discussion. Yeah, okay, and I can totally understand it from a studio's perspective as well, right? I mean, if you sign a check of $200 million, yeah, you kind of want to be sure that you're going to make your money back.
Yeah.
So you do want to have some control there. Um, but yeah, the problem is often that leads to something that's just not. It's not going to be the success that they hope it be. I mean, that's Square Enix biggest problem right now, that I guess they spent. Yeah, I don't think they actually reveal the numbers of what they spent, but very
But
obviously
I
they
mean, you
spend a
you
lot.
could tell. Yeah.
Yeah, you can tell. I mean, and it's obvious, right? Because if a game is 10 years in development, I mean, just even if it's in Japan, where salaries, I guess, aren't that high for developers as they are in the States, it's still gonna cost you a shit ton of money just to have these people working on it. And yeah, then you basically you get the quadruple A budget for, I guess, for at least in Japan, for a game, purely because you spend so much time on it, and you had such a massive scope, and you probably restored it a couple of times, and you sort of self-indulge with adding so much content that at some like that, that's kind of, yeah, I know it sounds weird, but with Rebirth, I had like, there's also some, there's also, you can also have too much of a good thing, right? Because
Yes.
game looked great, it played great, and you saw, so I mean, I can appreciate sort of the skill and the passion, like that you're adding like so many mini games with mechanics that you only use once, and it's impressive to see, but on the other hand, like you feel like, yeah, but was this necessary? Because let's say from a sort of project manager perspective, I can totally understand. Like, yeah, that I would have cut that if I was responsible for that project. Because like, yeah, how much money does it take to make this? Like, I mean, maybe I'm off here, and maybe it didn't. Like somebody made this in their spare time, and that's fine, But like a lot of stuff is like you could have done this shorter or more focused, and in the end, you probably, because that's kind of the problem, is if it's so long, because you're putting in a lot of content that's not necessarily in service of the plot, or keeping things going, or you seem to dragging things along, yeah, then people might not be inclined to finish the game. Because I think that's probably a problem for a lot of people who simply, I mean, I spoke to somebody today who's still playing Rebirth because it's just such a long game, and yeah, you know again, I think it was a great game, but it also suffered for yeah, for they wanted to
Like
do too
doing
much,
too
and
much.
to
Yeah.
and they just, yeah, I keep saying it. I think it's sort of overindulgence there, that you're um making this, yeah, in the end you're making this for the fans, for the gamers, but you're also kind of making this because you kind of want to put it in there, and you're not thinking about, yeah, what else am I competing with? Because that's again, that's a problem. It's not, necessarily the money perspective. It's not that people can't afford to buy, Final Fantasy Rebirth and whatever else came out in the same period. But people have to compete with the time. Like, if this game is going to take me 100 hours to finish, um, and I don't have the time to spend on that, or there's other games I want to complete. Yeah, then you have to run the risk that people say, yeah, maybe I'll wait for it. Maybe I'll wait for a sale, because I'd rather play something else now, and then spend my time, more productive, right? And yeah, that's absolutely a concern. And yeah, it doesn't help that there's just this release schedule. So basically, like, it's crazy. This year is amazing, but also incredibly, yeah, almost disturbing, in the sense of how many great games are coming out in short succession this year. Last year was the same. I think the year before as well. And that's the thing, is like, yeah, it's great we're going to get these games, but I'm also kind of fearful, because a lot of these games are potentially going to fail, because
Yeah.
they just came out at the wrong time, or there's just too much, and that's kind of it. I don't even think it's anymore a matter of, okay, don't program, your new game, your new IP against, let's say GTA 6, or any or Call of Duty, whatever. Like, I think it's now also a matter that you have to consider that people have massive backlogs, and then you have, of course, the Game Pass and the PlayStation Plus, and all these subscription services, and you're competing against that. Like, you're uh, people have like a rolling backlog now, that's
I have no
now
problem.
actually, actually a threat to your to any game that releases, because you're not sure people are going to play your game or buy your game because they have so much stacked up. And there's no I don't think we've had any moment where there's sort of a slow time for gaming, contrary to some people claim. Like it's always been full on like onslaught of game after game after game that's worth playing. And that's you're gonna pay, somebody's gonna pay the price for that, because that's particularly gonna be the games either don't get enough exposure, or games that have a massive budget, are too big to fail, and end up failing because they're unable to compete against something that's like, I guess Expedition 33 is a perfect example here, because it's a huge hit right now, and it's something, it offers something that people are craving for without being this overproduced massive blockbuster title, like and streamlined as what Final Fantasy did with 16, and just giving you a great experience, and just like, okay, yeah, we want to make a turn-based RPG, and we're going to show you that we can do this with realistic graphics, and the main story, and it's not going to be JRPG, but heavily inspired by it, and it's going to be amazing, and you're going to love it. And lo and behold, they succeeded. But yeah, okay, I went on too long, so let somebody else talk.
No, no, you're good.
No,
Um,
no, you did great.
yeah. I mean, obviously, I want to go to you next, Morgan. Keeping that in mind, right? And you being, I know you're also a bit. You've always been a big indie fan. So the indie scene has always been a safe haven for you. And a lot of successes there, like you're like Hades. And I know you're anxiously awaiting Hades too. Um, but also keeping in mind another team you're a big fan of, CD Project Red, right? Because they're also almost at the starting point of this whole idea of what we're talking about, right? Starting as this smaller studio, going from The Witcher 1, which was a mess, to Witcher 2, which was a success largely, and then making this massive bump into Witcher 3, Cyberpunk 2077, and now having two teams, and while still maintaining being independent this entire time. Um, is this an idea that I guess that, like, you're wanting to see flourish as we go forward, and get more better tools in the hands of developers, maybe to make these games faster, provided obviously, like we mentioned, they've got good project management. I don't think that gets said enough with a lot of these teams, because I think there's a lot of management issues, and a lot of these, like, the developers are usually very, very great, as we can tell when, depending on who they're under, what they craft, right? um, so we can definitely tell there's a lot of management issues at the higher end, the corporate level, when they can't handle it. And when they can, obviously you get some incredible games too. So it's not to say that there is, like we've said, there's not to say there's not a space for that. Um, but I guess, what do you think that you are hoping for to see from this? I guess this soft reset, as it were, that we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, we made some fantastic points. Like this industry, I mean, just with the recent news, I'm not going to delve into it because we're going to talk to it later. Just with, big publishers increasing prices, we see, their reasonings are all over the place, from being, um, cost of production going up, as well as like, certain political leaders doing certain actions.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and now we've gotten to a point where games have increased twice in one generation. Um, so we've increased everything by like $20 essentially now. Um, yeah, as someone who is a big proponent of indies, um, I specifically got into indies like this generation. I don't know really what made me start playing some indies. I think I just got my PS5 and I was just like, let me find some games to play. And I just started like going through PS Plus and looking at all the indies. And that was really the first time that I was really into like smaller production games. Like obviously, growing up with PS1, PS2, those, those type of games, even though they were the big games that were obviously smaller in scale and in production, everything like that. So, but as far as like independent games, like this was the first time I really gave them a shot, and I was just like, oh my God, these are just as good, if not better, than AAA games. Like, why haven't I been playing these games, for forever? I was like, and then that's when I went on like a huge spree of just playing all types of different smaller scaled games. Um, and that's what I'm doing now. Those like indie games for me have been leading the charge for games and game development. Um, I think this year alone, all my favorite games are essentially indie with Split Fiction, Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Expedition 33. Um, this isn't a new game, but it's a game I played this year with Dave the Diver. Um, just like all the games that I played this year, just been immaculate, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and they've all been smaller games or in games that haven't charged full price. And I think these bigger publishers are starting to recognize that. They're starting to pay attention to the fact that the games that are succeeding are the ones that are the smaller games. Even PlayStation, PlayStation's known for its big budget, big production, stuff like that. But even then, they had for 2024, Game of the Year was the smallest game they probably made in a long time with Astrobot.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, I think it sounds like you cut out. I don't know. Maybe she's losing signal or something. I think she's running around.
Hey, it's not a podcast without technical difficulty, eh?
Right.
You hear me? My bad.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay. To argue that Astrobot, it didn't make the sales, it didn't do this, it didn't do that. But you also have to remember it didn't cost them what it cost, something like God of War or Horizon Forbidden West or Spider-Man 2. It didn't need to make the 10 million sales that those games make, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so it's like they try to judge it off the success of big AAA games and say, oh, because it didn't meet these sales quotas at, the 3 million in 3 days, like God of War does, or, Spider-Man 2 does, or something like that, that it's a failure.
Yeah.
And I just like, I'm like, there's in no reality did Astrobot cost anywhere close to any of those other games, right? We can even see from the fact that the turnaround for this game, like the production, as far as how quickly they were able to make this game, right? I think it only took them what 2 to 3 years to put this game together.
Yeah, it was pretty
Compared to
fast.
compared to the big games that Sony usually makes, which takes them like 5, 6, maybe 7 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and also, Team Asobi is located in Japan, which is another factor where, you know, like we said, development costs, are extremely low, at least compared to the U.S. and the West Coast specifically. And all those factors just resonate to the fact that, and I think, as like I said, it's specifically with PlayStation when it comes to the success of Astrobot. I feel like they realize, okay, you know, we can make these smaller games that are, low in cost, low in production, and are critically and commercially successful. We don't have to pump out, these 3, 4, $500 million games all the time to make a successful franchise. And the mere fact that, Astrobot has continuously released, DLCs that have been free, you know, free courses that we've been getting. Like, I think they're finished with it now, but we got like courses like every month after it's released, right?
Yeah.
The continued support that Team Asobi has been getting, and I can't wait to see what else they like. What's the next thing they're gonna do with Astrobot? because there's endless possibilities for where they could go with the game. But um, the mere fact that I could PlayStation's backing them up, they're going to keep giving them support. Um, and I think Astrobot essentially has become the new sort of mascot for PlayStation at this point. But bigger than PlayStation though, the industry itself, people are starting to realize, like I did back in like 2020, that like indies and independent developers have a lot to offer the industry and a lot to offer gamers as far as great games go, right? People are starting to open their eyes and be like, you know what? A double A or single A game can be just as great as a triple A game, right? If not better.
Agreed.
And I think, to be honest, will publishers pay attention to that? Like the actual suits, the people who are in charge, like the money makers who are making these decisions of what type of games to make, are they paying attention? Will they pay attention to this? I think in some sense they will, but unfortunately, games like, and I don't mean that as a slight towards games like Fortnite or Marvel Rivals, but
Yeah,
because of those types of games that exist, like publishers
they'll
and the
keep
suits,
chasing
and
that.
they will keep chasing that that purple elephant. They're gonna keep chasing it because that's what they want. They want that continuous income without having to put too much into it, right? And that's not to say that Marvel Rivals and Fortnite don't, because they put a lot of work into those IPs, right? Like the collaborations and the character um interactions that they put into these games, like there's nothing to sleep on. They do a lot of work, but because it's only one IP they have to focus on, it's not as bad as having to pump out six different games. So
Exactly.
it's like I would love for the industry to sort of do this, soft reset that you're talking about, where they kind of reevaluate everything that's going on. Notice again that I think the last essentially two Game of the Year winners were like independent games. you know the games that are getting successful, the games that are getting a lot of attention. I mean, even the ones that don't win, like like Balatro, right? Like
Yeah.
it had massive success, right? um was overnight hit. Everybody who's like, most people that I've heard play it, they become like addicted to it, like they can't stop. Like I played it through like I said with Day of the Diver. It was like in there as like, I guess, one of the DLCs or something.
Yeah.
And I played one of the side missions, and it had like a little Balatro mini game. It was very addicting. I was like, oh man, like I had to stop playing so I could finish the actual game. So I get it for people who are like addicted to Balatro. I get it, but it's these games, and like I was saying last week, it's the fact that they don't have to really answer to stockholders, to the managers, to the middleman, to the people who are making the money decisions. They're just able to just kind of make what they want, right? Whether they get like a backing from another publisher, or they're able to fund it themselves. They really only have to answer to themselves, and they can make what they want to make, which is allows them to put the passion on the screen and have us play great games. Which is why, that's why people are always scratching their heads with the thought about this Expedition 33, the Sandfall team, and the fact that they are ex Ubisoft developers. They're like, wait, what? Like Ubisoft developers made a turn-based, JRPG inspired game, like, and it's smash hit. It's like, yes, because the developers at Ubisoft are talented. It's just who they have to answer to is the people that are inhibiting them from actually kind of making the games and the quality of games that they probably want to make. But at the end of the day, people got to get a check, so they do what they got to do essentially. um but
Absolutely.
yeah, this industry as a whole, with the rising prices for not only customers, but the rising cost of production for these games, the fact that people are guessing or assuming that GTA 6 is going to be like $1 billion, $1 billion production game, is honestly, it's so ridiculous how crazy these costs are becoming for video games. And there's going to be a limit. There's going to be they're going to reach the top of this hill at some point, and something's going to have to give, right? Because I don't know if this industry can handle another price hike, like, because we haven't even gotten into the next generation yet. Like I said, this is we've had two price hikes within one generation, right?
Yeah.
So what's to stop them next generation from being like, essentially what they did at the beginning of this generation, where they're like, well, the reason we're raising prices is because obviously, it's a new generation. There's new technology with the, PS6. It's more advanced. We got more advanced ray tracing, SSD, blah, 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 blah. Um, and, because of that, we have to spend even more money to kind of push the limit of these consoles. So we're gonna raise the prices again. It's gonna be $90 a game. Like what is the limit? What is gonna like what is the point where they're like, all right, the cost of the game, the price that we have given this game is good enough, right? Like we've reached that limit. $80, $90, $100. This is the price
I
where
mean,
we feel
I
like
think
we
they're
can't go any higher.
I think they're getting dangerously close. I mean, to be honest, like,
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about, the amount of people, like we talked about that game share or do
Hmm.
other things to try and alleviate it, especially, if you want all the content, needing to get, uh, it feels like the better solution was like we said, adding a couple things and creating that deluxe edition, right? Because
Yeah.
the standard being $80 just sounds absolutely insane to me. Uh,
Exactly. That's what I
like,
would pay for the deluxe edition. Exactly.
yeah, and like I feel like we buy more games than most people, and
Yeah.
also more importantly, actually play them. But
Yeah.
uh, if we are getting hesitant, that means your average person is non-existent at that point.
Mhm.
Like they
And see,
are
that's the thing,
buying one or two
because,
games.
you know, according to like analysts, like the average person, the average gamer only buys 2 games a year, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are part of the demographic that's the above average, right? The hardcore gamer who buys multiple games a year. All right. And what you don't want to do is piss off the people who buy the multiple games, because we're the ones holding it together for all these publishers and everything to keep this industry afloat. Okay. So when the people who buy multiple games are now telling you that, oh my God, this is too much, that's when you're going to reach a tipping point. So the question is, it's like, what does the industry do? Do they, which I hope what they do they lower the cost of games? They realize, like, we can make just as good games, AAA quality, right? But we don't need, it doesn't need to be 400 million, it doesn't need to be 500 million, right? Or do they just keep upping the ante and just hoping and praying that people will just accept paying 80, 90, $100? Because I'm very interested to see the analytics on this. What's going to happen when the price increases to 80? Like, does game spending go down, or does it stay the same? Does it go up? Like, I highly doubt it's going to go up, but like, does it at least stay the same? Because that's going to be the real factor,
Yeah.
right, with everything going on. Um, because it's really interesting. Like, again, I'm not going to go because I know we're going to talk about prices later, but to me, indies have been absolutely immaculate. I think indies have probably been my favorite type of game this generation, and that, again, that's not due to like, oh, I don't like AAA games, or I'm done, because there is this whole movement of people trying to just essentially
Oh, say yeah,
boycott
say
AAA.
AAA ain't nothing. Yeah, like there's no good
Yeah,
AAA games. Yeah, that's
there's no
crazy
good
work.
AAA. Everything from the West is woke trash. They can't make anything. It's all propaganda. Blah blah blah. Listen, I'm not on that fucking train because that's bullshit. Um, Most of those people just crying to cry. Just Anyway, but it's just, for me, I can just, when for the majority of the indie games that I've played, I can just, and I use this word a lot. I can just feel the passion from the game, from playing it. I can tell the people who made this really wanted to make this game. Like, it wasn't something that, a board came together and said, this is the type of game we need to make. You need to hit this check mark. You need to hit this, this, and this. We got to check off all this stuff. It's got to have this included multiplayer live service on it. Like, I could just feel this is a game that these people wanted to make, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's I don't know. It's just it's I just feel like kind of the industry again has moved away from that, has moved away from letting developers just make what they want because the people in charge are like again chasing that dragon. They're chasing that live service back, and it's not just live service, but even with the single player open world kind of things, they're just kind of chasing these rudimentary, like, all right, we're gonna do this safe type of open world game that, cookie cutter game that we've always made, or we're gonna chase that safe cookie cutter linear game that we've always made, or it's like no one's really trying to do anything different. No one's really trying to innovate or just make something that they actually are passionate about, right? Like they're just trying to make what they think the people want, right? Like let's make a game that we know will sell. Let's make a game that we know will make us, help us hit our quota. Let's make a game that we know when this next financial report comes out, will hit every metric that we're supposed to hit, right?
Or at least a game
And
they
I
think will
just
do that.
yeah, exactly. Because a lot of times that, they don't hit that
Yeah,
metric,
that
right?
definitely backfires.
So exactly. So it's honestly just, it's sad because nine times out of ten, I don't blame the developers for this, right? They're doing their job. We all do crap that we don't want to do at our job because it's our job, right? Um, and it's just I don't know. Like gaming has just become really, because of how much money it's making, right? Like it's the industry that is, as far as entertainment goes, right, is like the biggest growing, right? They're making, I mean, they're surpassing movies and television, right, at this point in games. And because there's so much money to make, I think that it has become overly corporate. Like more and more businesses are opening, more and more studios and publishers, and even entities that weren't always involved in gaming, right? You got Amazon people, right? They're all trying to get a piece of the pie, right? And they see how hard it is because when even with Netflix, right, they try to get into gaming, and like they hired I forgot the guy's name, the man who was the lead artist at Santa Monica Studio. They hired him, I think, to kind of head their AAA Netflix division games, right? And immediately they shut it down because they realize how hard it is to make these type of games, like to make the games that are the breakout hits, the sensations, right? The games
Yeah.
that go on to live, the franchises that go on to exist for years. This is not an easy industry to get into, right? We've seen every week, I swear, we're talking about another studio that's been closed down, right?
Mm-hmm.
Another game that's just gone, devs that have been fired, essentially, things like that. So like I said, we have Apple, Amazon, all these entities trying to get into gaming, and it's them and other corporates that have come into it that I think is the reason why we're getting a lot of these, like I said, keep saying, these cookie cutter ass games, right? These games that they are trying to just meet, you know, bullet points. Like it has to have and this is what we want out of it. And if you don't do this, then we're gonna cancel the game. We're gonna shut it down. Like this is what we expect, essentially. Um, and that's why I think a lot of people have started to turn to the indies, because those are the games that aren't the ones that are being monitored. They're not the games that are being micromanaged to the point where somebody has a creative idea that they think will work, but then people are like, I mean, that sounds okay, but it's kind of a little bit over budget. And um, our metrics when we tested it, in group settings, they said they didn't like that type of thing, so we're not going to do it. People who don't really like games that are making decisions about games. And that's what I think is happening. A lot of these people in charge aren't actually gamers, right? They don't really
Yeah.
know what gamers want. They just think they know. They just
Which is
like,
why you
oh,
keep
this is
seeing
what
these
has
weird
succeeded.
decisions.
Yeah, that this metric or this gameplay mechanic or this type of game world or these type of characters we have seen succeed on game A, B, C, and D. So that's what we're going to do for this game. And developers are like, I mean, yeah, but that's not really kind of the vision that we've had. It was like, well, that's what works, so that's what we're going to do. So just do it. You
Yeah.
know. Um,
Or you see the
But
half
yeah,
measures where they're like, you can make that game, but find a way
right.
to throw some microtransactions in there. I'd like that.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, look at like our, the game that we love, Cyberpunk, right? Like it being forced to come out. Like the developers were saying that it wasn't ready, right? It's not done, but the suits were like, well, it needs to be out by 2020. We have to meet this quota, blah 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 blah. So just release it anyway, right? Well, make sure you don't give anybody console codes. Just give them PC. Don't let them use their own footage. They all can only use beta. Blah blah blah. Like they were trying so hard to make an image for this game of a game that it wasn't at the time, right?
Well, and the,
And
well,
then
and the
thankfully,
main issue for them trying to capitalize on the user base of the old
mhm,
consoles when the game should have been,
exactly.
obviously moved to PS5.
It absolutely should have not been a last gen game. It should have been next gen only. But again, like you said, that user base is so large that and they started advertising this game at the beginning of the other gen, so they were just like, I mean, might as well. So, all that money on the table, they would just refuse to leave it. So, but thank God they got the chance to do everything with 2.0 update, so that it now is the game that it should have been at launch. It took them a while, but hey, it's there, right? And the game is amazing now. But that's just the kind of thing that happens when you have to answer to essentially a higher power in gaming, right? Um, but yeah, I am absolutely so happy that indies are thriving, that the smaller studios are thriving. You like again, like I said, my favorite game and a lot of people's favorite games this year have been the independent studios, right? Um, so again, that just shows you what gamers are looking at, what gamers want. But the question is will these publishers, will the suits actually care, or will they keep trying to chase the inevitable bag that they think, you know, is attainable? Like, will they keep trying to chase the Fortnites? Will they keep trying to chase the Marvel rivals? Um, yes, unfortunately, yes, because that's what they have determined is the answer to all of their monetary problems. So, but I do think and I do hope that there is a reset that we get for gaming because it needs it. Like, honestly, we're at a point where I don't think I've ever been at a point where like, at least as an adult, right, a person who's able to buy my own games, right, not having to rely on like parents or gifts or something like that, right.
Hmm.
And there really this is the first kind of point where I'm like, I might have to make a decision about getting one game versus another. Like I've
I
never been
mean,
at
I
that
mean,
point. I get everything I want.
but we're already considering that, right? Like, because even if it's not
Yeah,
money, like Weeb said earlier, it's time. So it's
yeah,
like even if you can afford it, it doesn't mean you're like, okay, by the time I get to this game, it'll be $20. Like if
yeah,
you're realistic with yourself.
yeah. True, that too. Yeah, and I vehemently disagree with people who are, this is like the worst generation ever. Like, sure, if you're talking about pricing and things like that, sure. But as far as like quality of games, I disagree wholeheartedly.
Yeah, hundred
Like I
percent.
said, I think people are, again, the people who say that are people who only play certain types of games, right? Only play the big AAA blockbuster games. And yes, a lot of those games have been disappointing if you have been a fan of certain franchises and they come out and they're not what you remember and they don't kind of live up to what you had in mind. Then sure, yes, gaming would be very disappointing. But I mean, there are so many genres out there, so many different, types of games that we've been talking about as far as single A, double A, triple A. Like, you shouldn't box yourself in to just one type of game because I promise you there is a genre or just even a studio out there that's making the perfect game for you that you just haven't found yet, and you're keeping yourself from that by refusing to try anything other than this one type of game that you like. So I encourage everybody to just kind of branch out. If you have a subscription service, whether it's PS Plus or Game Pass or anything like that, and you don't want to just, buy things willy nilly, that's a great way to kind of try games out that you haven't played before, try different genres out and do that and kind of learn what you like as a gamer, because I feel like a lot of people, even people who have been gaming for years, still haven't learned what type of gamer they are. They still don't know all the games that they like to play, you know?
Yeah.
Um, sorry, I went on a little tangent there,
No, you're
but
good.
yeah, um, but yeah, this industry definitely needs a reset. And the question is, when is the the fan gonna hit the ceiling? Like, is it gonna be this generation, or is it gonna be like the beginning of the next generation? And I think a lot of it's probably gonna depend when Sony finally announces that they're also gonna raise prices. Like, what is it gonna do to, like, what is everybody's opinion gonna be about where the industry is headed?
No, I agree. I think it's I don't know. There's so many factors, right? And most people consider only really their situation, right? Um,
Hmm.
and we know people on various spectrums of the expendable income metric. Uh, to the point where some people, they don't even have to think about it, right? But
Yeah.
listening to some other podcasts and some other people, a guy brought up a really good point. He was like, "Look, I'm, disabled. I'm on a fixed income. So, if you're telling me something is $80, you're telling me it's $100, essentially.
Hmm.
Especially once tax kicks in, I'm essentially spending $100." And he goes, I'm basically, I'm priced out of a lot of things at that point, and I was like, I get it. He's not gonna magically make more money all of a sudden, so he's really, really got to be careful about if he's purchasing a game day one, like, yeah, now he has to wonder, how long is that gonna last me? Um, how bad do I want this game right now? Can I wait? Do I have to switch my tactics entirely? And I got to wait for games to hit 49.99. Whatever the magical price point is, right? Per game,
Hmm.
and stuff like that. And that's what we were talking about. And like, pricing is such a weird thing, because you've got, we always talk about the idea of how pricing works. The reason they price something at you know 49.99 and not $50.
Oh yeah, the trick of marketing. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
like, oh, it's cheaper because it's 49.99. It's like, no, it's still $50.
it's still $50. Yeah, but they just don't market that way. And then when they do list something that's $50, it just says 50, not 50.00. You notice that? Like, it doesn't
Hmm.
include the rest of it. So all these little tricks and all these things that happen. But yeah, that's why I said, like I said, I feel like not a full reset or like a crash or anything will happen, but I definitely feel like I said, that's why I call it a soft reset, where I feel like
Okay.
a lot of these companies will definitely reevaluate and really see where they're at. And I think, I think CD Projekt Red is a good example of a team that's already doing that, right? They already cut using their in-house engine, despite how much everybody loved it, to go with Unreal, right? Like, they're going to just go all in, on this readily available hardware, and just really
Hmm.
learn to utilize it to cater to them. And I've definitely seen really good examples of at least Unreal Engine 4, where companies have customized it to a point where, like, you wouldn't even recognize it. It's
Yeah.
100%. It's got certain things that they've customized, certain systems. So these things are very
I mean, even with Expedition
changeable.
33, their use of Unreal 5 has been better than a lot of developers I've seen.
Oh,
You
absolutely,
know, like, and that's a
absolutely.
way small, again, a way smaller studio that's been able to implement the use of Unreal 5, very well. And I think, um, probably specifically with CD Projekt Red, a lot of the issues they probably had with development and production and getting this game out had to do with the engine. Not to say that the what was it? It's the Red engine that they were using, right?
Yeah.
Not to say that it's bad or anything, but I know that they had a lot of outsourcing because it's a huge game, and you're gonna need a lot of people, even with as a team as big as CD Projekt Red, you're gonna need a lot of people to work on it. And getting hiring temporary developers to work on a unfamiliar engine to them, right? Because it's in-house, the people as the project right know how to use it, right? Know how to implement it, know how to get the most out of it, but you have to train other people to how to use it, right? And I guess they realize with, this new, the like the 3 or 4 new games that they have coming out, um, that it would be a lot easier to work on a standardized engine as Unreal 5, right? They wouldn't have to train the people that they outsource the game to
Utilize their
use the
engine and their
engine.
tool, their proprietary
Exactly.
tools.
It would be a lot easier. It probably, would be a lot easier as far as everybody working together, in a production as big as the games that they make. It would streamline a lot of the issues that they probably had working on Cyberpunk 2077, and it it would probably help get the whatever games they're working out next a lot faster. Um,
So
so
good
even
good
though I was
project
upset,
management in that case.
you know, exactly. I was a little sad because I do love in-house engines. Because I think they have a lot to offer. They
Yeah, I
offer
agree.
different things other than standardized engines like Unreal and stuff like that. But I definitely understand, and I've seen a lot of AAA games start to move to Unreal. The new studio. Well, I should say newly named studio went from 343 to Halo Studios. They also said that they're moving to Unreal 5 for,
After spending
the,
several
the Halo
hundred
games.
million on creating an engine.
On creating an engine, they realize, you know what? Again, and I'd say probably another example of, because that's another studio, like a lot of big AAA studios that have to outsource, and it's hard to train people on engines that are in-house, custom made. So I think they just realized it would be easier to streamline production if they just use Unreal. And I see, like I said, I see a lot of big AAA studios doing that. Um, but yeah, this industry it's going in a lot of different directions. It's going in some directions I definitely don't agree with, but
Hmm.
I am happy that there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and indies are still holding up, such a passionate part of the industry and keeping it afloat. Because honestly, if the indies weren't around, I would probably be very displeased with how gaming has gone. Not to say that there haven't been AAA games that have been amazing, because there have been, but um, I just don't think I would be as enthused with gaming if indies didn't exist. So please support the single NAA indies, because they are the games that are honestly keeping it afloat. Not only in obviously the games that they make, but in the inspirations that a lot of AAA games take and put in their own games, right? A lot of smaller games inspire and bring out mechanics and new innovations that a lot of AAA games pay attention to and they put in their own games. So
This is true. But yeah, no. To answer Viper's question, he asked, "What does a soft reset entail?" Um, this the soft reset is not something. It's essentially already happening. Like, we're not talking about. So that's why I said soft reset. When I say that, it's like what's happening with these. Everybody is talking about the layoffs and stuff like that, but a lot of people are not talking about the rebound of a lot of these teams and developers who are able to switch modes from coming from these major publishers and AAA devs to creating their own works in their own studios at a much smaller level and achieving, a high level of success without needing to make 8 million sales. Um, and it consists of also the tools and the things that are coming along that are allowing them to make these games without the need for these insane uh, this insane overhead that you see in a lot of other titles as well. So that's why I was saying, like, soft reset, mainly because a lot of devs are being forced out from these major publishers, but the talent is there. So they're landing on their feet at smaller studios with other developers who either left or were laid off and still creating amazing works. Um, and basically letting these studios at the top realize hey, a lot of what you guys are doing might not be as cost effective as you think it is, and it's, again, not to say that, um, a lot of what they're doing isn't great, because like we said, it's not that AAA isn't there, but like some stuff has definitely gotten out of hand, uh, in those budgets, where it's like people, it makes them reevaluate, at the higher end. What do we really need to do? What do we really need to spend to get the result that we want from this upcoming title? Um, so yeah, I mean, that, at least that's the hope, is that they're paying attention to that, because you can't just keep. We know it, the way people cut off subscriptions, the way people cut off lots of things. You can't just keep upping the price indefinitely. That's not gonna work. I mean, that doesn't work in anything. Like, people are not magically getting paid more because things are more expensive, right? People are just cutting back on things more because, they don't have an option, because everything more expensive. Their food's more expensive, and people got to eat, right? Um, so I mean, I think that's the bigger thing that we're paying attention to, that we're just looking at and kind of revisiting and
Yep.
seeing what they're capable of. Omar, I know, again, this has been, like I said, we always joke about it, but I know this has been good for you, because in this time, um, the indie scene has really been thriving, as far as, your, Metroidvanias. Like I said, there's been a ton of them that I've even tried, because a lot of them look really good. Uh, so, uh, how are you feeling about this so-called soft reset that, like I said, is already kind of ongoing, as far as it's working out for you this generation?
I mean, without indies, we would be fucked.
Yeah,
It's literally how it is. It like um, AAA games, when they do them right, they are memorable. Last of Us, God of War, um, Horizon, Spider-Man, even Assassin's Creed, when it used to be normal without the bloating. Even Final Fantasy, when it used to be normal without the bloating. When I'm playing Final Fantasy and I feel like I'm playing Mario Party, with the amount of mini games that there are. And for the people that calling them optional, well, it's optional. Some of them are literally in the game that you can't escape from. And get this, you wanna be faithful, but cut back on some of these mechanics. Like creating one concept mini game, which is um, the mushroom pickup in Final Fantasy Rebirth. Like it had its own mini game instead of simply pressing a button and call it a day. And this mini game takes time to create, take energy, take money, and like I have yet to see any of that in indies like this. And it's not like every Metrovania I play is the same. They are different. They try different things. Like for example, this Metrovania that I just played, you can literally switch between three different characters mid combat.
yeah,
Not all Metrovania does that. Other Metrovania, I'm literally able to stand on my weapon and what you call it, use it as a for platforming. Like they're trying to be unique. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. While with what you call it, with with Metrovania, if you fuck up, the price is not that high.
yeah,
With not Metrovania, Indies, for the most part, if you fuck up, the price is not that high. But with triple A, if you fuck up, that can cost you your studio.
yeah. High risk with not necessarily
Like
potentially a high reward.
for Spoken Studio shut down, and the people that wanna say they got alligated, let's give it a buck, it shut down. The studio behind what you call it? Uh, I forgot that was the game name. It's the one with the woman with a tall game. I forgot what it's called. It came out last year. They didn't do well. A lot of these like Morgan and we've talked about it. How many times we reported on studios being either shut down or people losing their job, and then we've talked about it, but I'm gonna talk about it. Fucking Assassin's Creed. Like I asked my friend, "Hey, are you gonna play you a Shadow?" He told me no. I
Well,
got
you
burnt
hold on.
out.
To be fair, he was talking about prior experiences with Assassin's Creed, not particularly Shadows.
Yeah, no, but I am. That's what I'm literally about to say. It's literally the same story. Literally, I asked him, "Are you gonna play Shadow?" He said, "No, I'm burnt out." I was burnt out. I said, "Oh, you're burnt out from Valhalla." I know, cause I got burnt out by it as well. He said, "No, from Odyssey." Like, look at the conversation we were having. I got burnt out from Valhalla. I put more than 200 hours in Valhalla, and I didn't even finish the game.
So
And
so
he,
I'm gonna just hold you right there because I know you haven't played Assassin's Creed. While I have the platinum for Assassin's Creed, it is not the same story. So I want to be
I, I,
accurate.
I know Shadow. I know Shadow is different. I know Shadow is different. But my example is how you kill people time over and bet them out so much they don't want even to invest in your new game. Even the new game that you're doing something different, but they already burnt out that they don't want to invest in your new game. And Square Enix is no better. Instead of not technology, instead of cutting back on the mini games, he's like, "Oh, we understand, but we're still not gonna cut back." I'm like, "For fuck's sake!" It's frustrating to see where the industry is heading. I don't think so. You calling it a soft reboot? As a, it's it's a crash. Like I say, the industry have lost how many people? How
I
many
mean, they
studios
have.
are being shut down?
I mean, you have a lot of
Like,
shutdowns, but you also have a lot of studios
yeah,
thriving
yeah, yeah,
in new
bounce
places.
back.
That's why I said a crash would be no room for growth and nothing would be growing. That's why I said it's not a crash; it's a soft reset.
I get it. It it lot of people are bouncing back. Like, yeah, we've seen a lot. I'm not sure if it's because of social media, but every single big person that get laid off, you see him starting his own studio. Like Nakamura, she started her own studio. Shinji Mikami started his own studio. Um, yeah, so it even the dude that uh, got either laid up or left Bayonetta, what do you call it, the studio behind Bayonetta, he started his own studio. Like a lot of and these people that start their own studio, they take people from like from other companies that get laid off or from the same company that get laid off. So yes, a lot of people bounce back. I get you on that end, but it is hey, speaking of starting its own studio, this is literally we're watching from the developer from the developers that created Shadow of the Colossus. This is his new game. I'm excited for it because I love Shadow of the Colossus. But going back to the conversation, You call it soft reboot or soft crash. I don't know. I forgot what term you
As a
use.
soft reset.
Okay, soft reset. So my
Like I
question
say,
becomes,
the difference is a crash. Like I said, has no
I got
growth.
you. I understand you. So then my question becomes, how long before it actually crash then?
It will probably never actually crash. Like the global economy would have to crash in order for that to happen. That's why I said I don't think it'll actually crash.
Hmm. I do think I know it's not a competition on, but I do think the $80 is a slippery slope. But we're gonna cover that. But it's not that. It's I will talk about it when it comes to. But here is the kicker. When a developer does well, indie developer, bigger companies pick them up,
I mean, if they want to be
and
bought, a lot of them refuse.
they got their freedom. And sometimes they get helpful, sometimes they don't. Um, hey, also another thing I truly wish publishers would do is price their games right. Do you got how much? Do you guys know? Okay, so what would you pay for Sons of Midnight?
I mean, probably nothing because I probably wouldn't buy South of Midnight, so that's not a good question for me.
Fair. Do you know what Sons of Midnight cost?
No, I don't know what the budget was.
No, 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 no. How much it sells? It goes
Mm,
for.
no, I haven't looked at that at all. To be honest, because it's on Game
That's
Pass and I knew I wouldn't buy it, so I didn't even bother looking.
Yeah. So from what I have heard, Sons of
It's
Midnight.
$40.
Yeah, $40. Um. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it was $40, but that's my opinion. I think the issue is like for example, Expedition 33. I have yet to feel that it's an indie. It doesn't feel like an indie if it's all about the uh, game length. Hey, I'm all for it. Not every game needs to be 100, 200 hours long.
I mean, to be fair, I think Expedition 33 is a lot longer than people gave it credit for. I think the majority of people who did the length of the game were people who definitely beeline the game and didn't experience, honestly, a fraction of what this game had to offer. You're botting, by the way.
Oh
You started
God,
botting.
no.
Okay, no, you're good
What?
now. You're good now.
Oh, Activision 3 exposed a lot of this industry. And other games, Balatro, um, even the Blueprint game, which I'm never gonna touch.
Yeah, a lot of people
Look
love
at
it.
it.
Still loving Blueprints.
People loving it. It it's it's a slippery slope because both games are in subscription services, yet they won't sell. So it's yeah. I don't I don't know how to handle with this one. It's gonna be interesting to see. I think I think so. To me, it feels like three things at play. One, how good will the Switch 2 do compared to Switch 1, especially with the prices now? Two, um, GTA 6, how much is gonna cost? And three, Microsoft $80. Will it be accepted or not? I think these three things are gonna be key to see how the industry is gonna head. Because what will happen if PlayStation doesn't follow through and follow the market right now? We need an outliner. Expedition 3 is that not mind you, not every game, not every indie is that easy. When I say easy, I mean it's that easy to be to blow people away. Sometimes developers go like they sacrifice a lot. Like I can't stress it enough. The people behind Cuphead, they had to either sell their house or put a lot of mortgage or something like that to the point where even with Microsoft funding, they were barely able to make it until when they released the game, and now they're happy. It's yeah, gaming. Viper said it. It's a volatile industry, and I agree. It absolutely is, and that's a sad reality. I uh, uh, the biggest outliner is I know you love Fortnite, but it's Fortnite.
I mean, I
Fortnite.
don't love Fortnite. I play
I
Fortnite.
mean, you play it. Okay, I got you. It's these games that gave people the impression that we can make these games and become successful. And the biggest issue I have with this industry, they don't learn from their own mistakes. They never do. They absolutely never do. Which is why I have so many live service game failing, studios being shut down. Hey, speaking of never learning from their mistakes, what the fuck did Platinum Games just said? They're gonna make another live service game. What happened to Tower of Babylon or Babylon Fall? Did they forget? I don't know, dude. I really don't know. It it fucked up. Um, it genuinely fucked up. But yeah,
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
this year, not only this year, this is it fair to say that this industry is being carried by indies? And I'm talking this whole generation right now.
I mean, I think it's fair to say that this industry is being carried by good games. Uh, I mean, for me, they're
Yeah,
not
no,
all
we
they're
we
not all
we
indie, but
we eating amazing,
yeah,
but for
indies
the
are
most part,
indies. What I would say is indies are definitely filling the gap in between the ridiculously long development
be
times.
if you only play one console at one or just one genre or just triple A games, I feel so sorry for you. It's
Yeah,
not even funny. Cause yeah, no,
those people are not having a good time.
dude, we eating so good, we don't even have time to catch up on games. That's how many games are coming out. You're like, already? I just beat this game, and now you're telling me these two games are coming out? Like, yeah, it's crazy here already.
It is,
Let's let's move on to
but yeah,
$80 unless you wanna talk
no, we're
Borderlands.
no. So, moving on to our next topic. Obviously, everybody already talked about it. It's the main topic everybody's been talking about because honestly, it's kind of ridiculous. But in more negative news, Xbox has raised their prices on all of their hardware at this point. Um, the price hikes, honestly, it's a. Somebody asked me earlier in the week how I felt about it, and I was like, honestly, I don't really know what to say because uh, I'm confused why you would raise the prices on hardware that you were already having an issue selling, and like I mean I think everybody is kind of just flabbergasted. Is the best way for me to say it. uh, especially with the amount a lot of this stuff went up. Um, you do have a I don't know. I guess a myriad of reasons why they're claiming um, the prices did go up. But just for reference and understanding for a lot of people, you had the Series S, which was touted as the affordable console, right? The 1440p beast was always the joke with that console, but was $299. And over the past couple holidays, you've been able to even pick them up as low as $149, and that went up. Uh, the 512 version went up to from 300 to 380, and the 1 terabyte model is 429.99, which is crazy because again you have to remember this is the weaker console, and right now the bundle for the PS5 with Astrobot is 449. Like it just there's not a world where it makes sense that someone walks in and is like, yeah, let me get that weaker console for $20 less, even though like I just I'm not really sure what their thought process was with this, because obviously Microsoft, could eat the cost of these raises that they're going with, but they just decided to just go crazy. Um, the Series X digital is literally a complete $100 hike from 449 to 549, and then you have the regular Series X for 499 to 599, so another $100 hike. And the craziest one is the 2 terabyte Sparkle Edition, as I like to call it, of the Xbox. It's now $729.99. It is officially more than the PlayStation 5 Pro. Like I I'm not really sure what they were thinking. Like I'm not sure they were thinking at all. Like the only thing that I personally gather from this is that your hardware sales were so bad that you just don't care anymore. Like you're just like, all right, we're just gonna cut our losses, because I don't really see anybody walking into a store and spending this kind of money on a device that wasn't worth it in the first place, for a lot of people at the price it was at. So I'm not really sure where they were going with this. I mean, some of these prices are definitely fairly egregious, honestly. Uh, I'm not really sure how to react to this. Morgan, I want to go to you first. I do you even feel like do you even know how to feel about this? Like,
Honestly, when I first saw the news, I thought people were like joking. I thought it was like a, like a fake tweet or whatever. Um, and then I kept seeing it on the timeline, and obviously seeing it from a few reputable sources, and I was just like, oh, they're serious. Okay. Um, I think Xbox was like, that was the last publisher that I thought would be next in line for the $80. I thought we would be seeing like a Take Two, a EA, a Ubisoft, or even a PlayStation first, but Xbox decided to lead the charge on the increase in prices, and not only their hardware but their software. So they say that they will be having select games be $80. Listen, it's not select games. All that means is that this variable pricing that they keep talking about, all that means is that their AAA games will be 80, and games like South of Midnight and Outer Worlds 2 and Pentiment and stuff like that, they're gonna stay the lower price, right? Because they're smaller AA type of games. So yeah, those games will be cheaper, and remasters and remakes like Oblivion will be cheaper, but the majority of their like all of their AAA games will be $80 essentially. Um, yeah, uh, I don't understand well, I do understand, but why Xbox would put themselves in this predicament of raising hardware that they can't even sell to begin with. Um, it's not like Xboxes are flying off the shelves. Um, most of the, people I've seen certain accounts happy that before this price hike that, oh, you can't find an Xbox anywhere, and you can't find, they're sold out at Best Buy and Target and stuff like that. I'm like, that's because Xbox supplies these stores on demand because they realize that these consoles are collecting dust on shelves. It costs them
Mm-hmm.
money to send Xboxes out to these stores that aren't getting bought. So they don't do it anymore. And a lot of the Series X's are being used for the cloud, right? They cut a reason you won't finalize because, like I said, a lot of them are being used for the cloud because they like not literally cut, but cut the Series X into like four so that it streams at like the quality of the Series S for xCloud, and
Yeah.
that's why you don't see a lot of Series X's on the shelf because they're using a lot of them for the cloud to power the cloud. Mm. But yeah, this whole price hike, and now you see the prices are essentially equal. You have your value, like you said, your value box, the Series S, that's supposed to be the way people enter into the new generation at a friendly cost to consumers. And they have the nerve to not only not drop the price, but to raise it to a point that makes no freaking sense. Like, you're telling me that I could get a Series S 1 terabyte for this with no disk drive for the same price that I could get a PlayStation 5 with the disk drive and a game. So a console that's twice as weak for the same price as, like, I honestly don't know what's going on in Xbox's head. Like, again, people are like, oh, the tariffs, the tariffs, the tariffs. Listen, I'm at the point where I feel like, yes, the tariffs are a thing, right? They do exist, right? Xbox does they do produce their consoles in Vietnam that have, I think Vietnam has like a 46% tariff or something. Like, it's an insanely high tariff, right? I get it.
Yeah.
I do. But the thing is, even without these tariffs, Xbox was gonna do this shit anyway. Okay, all of these publishers. It's not just the Xbox thing either. This isn't me just picking on Xbox. Okay, all of these publishers we're gonna do the $80 thing because this is what the industry has wanted for a while. Okay, um, and people are stuck on, well, it's a tariff. It's okay, so when the tariffs are over, do you think Xbox is gonna go back to $70 games? That's my question. If it's solely based on tariffs, when the tariffs are over, is Xbox going to lower the price back to $70? The
Nope.
answer is fuck no. They're not. So you can't sit here and say, oh, it's solely because of the tariffs. No, it's not. The tariffs were the perfect excuse to raise these prices. This is what a lot of the industry has wanted for a while now. Okay. Again, I didn't expect it to be Xbox first. They like to paint themselves to be the consumer friendly company, and you know like I said, paint themselves that way. All
Yeah.
right, because no company, especially one that is owned by a $1 trillion corporation, they don't give a fuck about the customer. I'm gonna let you know that right now. Okay. They paint themselves that way because that gives them good publicity and PR, and it helps them sell the brand. Okay. They can't be the best selling brand, but they can be the quote unquote nicest brand, right? Um, yeah. This just kind of, like we were talking about this last night, and this just kind of solidifies my thinking that they really don't give a damn about the Xbox hardware owners. Um, and it really highlighted for me too when we got the financial reports for Xbox the other day. The day before they increased prices, we got their financial reports. And it was like, they were up cloud like 200% or something like that. They were the top publisher on Xbox and PlayStation. They saw growth on Game Pass, but not on the Xbox front, but on the PC front, right? PC Game Pass saw exponential growth.
Mm-hmm.
and then hardware sales were down by 6%. All of these numbers equate essentially when you really look at them, all it really tells you is that Xbox is getting most of their money from everywhere but Xbox, right? They're getting
True.
it from PC, they're getting it from PlayStation, they're getting it from the cloud. They're not really getting the majority of it from Xbox hardware owners. So then when you think about that, it kind of makes sense why they would raise the price for these consoles because who gives a damn, right? The the Xbox hardware owners are not their bread and butter, right? They're not the biggest stream of revenue that Xbox gets their money from. So why would they give a fuck if they raise the prices by 100, 200, whatever dollars? Because that's not that stream of revenue is not their biggest, right? Almost at this point, PlayStation consumers are their bread and butter. We had
Yeah.
stats released the other day that Indiana Jones has sold more on PlayStation than Xbox and PC combined. Forza is the number one pre-order game on PlayStation, and it's looking to be selling, Xbox and PC the same way Indiana Jones is. It's like Call of Duty, 90% of the sales were on PlayStation. Again, the bread and butter from Xbox seems to be PlayStation and PC. Like, so when I was confused about it at first, but when I thought about it, I was like, it makes perfect sense. Why would you care to, make the prices affordable for a platform that you're not really, you don't really give a damn whether it's doing good or not. Like, they have their hardcore fan base, right? The people that, the at least 10 to 15 million that will always buy Xbox no matter what.
Yeah.
And they'll probably keep making hardware for them, but they don't really need that, right? That's good enough. And then the main focus is outside of the hardware space, right? Outside of the Xbox hardware space, I should say. So I think this is like, again, I'm not an industry analyst. Okay, I'm not in the business of Xbox or Microsoft. Okay, I can't sit here and say things definitively. This is just me. This is just my thought process, and I could be completely wrong, and that's fine. But I just feel like this is just Xbox's way of kind of pricing themselves out of hardware, being like, you know what, we're putting this hardware is very expensive now. The tariffs, quote unquote, are causing us to increase the prices of these consoles that we're putting out. So, this will be their kind of excuse to kind of make a quiet exit out of hardware. Like, it's just come to our attention that hardware is just, it's just too expensive to maintain, and production costs are too high, and import export tariffs are just, causing us to have to increase prices to exponential amounts that aren't necessarily affordable for our customers. So we've decided as a company to just, kind of move from the hardware space, and we're just going to focus on, delivering our games to the platforms that exist, and, making Game Pass the real sell point of our company. Like, I could honestly see that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying that's going to happen. Like, I am just putting all of these kind of factors together and kind of surmising that this it kind of looks like that's what Xbox is doing a little bit. Listen, I know that they've already, said that they're making hardware, and that they're hard at
Allegedly.
work on the next generation. I mean, Phil did come out and say that they're working, or Sarah, one of them did say that they're making hardware.
Oh no,
But again,
they're
Xbox,
allegedly doing it because
yeah,
they've said a lot of
I
things
was
and
just
then
to
said,
say,
yeah,
Xbox execs have said a lot of things that have not come to fruition. Right? It's just 4 games, right?
just 4 games.
We're project, Keystone, where we're gonna have this Xbox Amazon Fire Stick for you guys, but then that got canceled, right? Or put on pause or whatever. Um, a lot of things have been said when it comes to Xbox by executives that, for whatever reason, have been canceled, put on hold, whatever, right? Um, but at the end of the day, this is absolutely hilarious. Um, because, I think this is the first generation in a while where we've had an increase in hardware after it being years on the market, right? Normally by this time, the console price would have been cut in half, right? Where we'd be at the point where stuff would be like $200 to $300, right? Bundled with a game or with the service, or with extra accessories and stuff, because we're getting near the tail end of the generation, right? That's at the point where we should be, but now we're at the point where the people who bought consoles day one are the real winners because you got it at a cheaper price, and that's never been a thing, right? It's usually the people at the tail end of the generation usually get the best deal because they get the bundle with everything like that. It's the price from people who bought it day one. But
Yeah.
now it's at the point where people who bought day one got the better deal than the people who waited. And that's insane to me because that's never really a thing with tech. Tech always goes down in price over the years. Um, but again, this is just how the industry is just when it comes to electronics and gaming and hardware and things like that, with the introduction of these, dumbass tariffs that are happening. This is just kind of where the industry seems to be pointing. And, everybody now is just waiting on bated breath of when PlayStation is going to also pull the trigger. Um, my thinking is like, I think it would be smart for them to wait, you know, at least till, I think they should wait till next gen, but
Yeah, I think they
PlayStation's not
should
going
wait
to do
till
that.
next gen. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the smart play. They could be all of a sudden they could take the title of consumer friendly company from Xbox, because look, good PR sometimes is a lot better than profit. You can't there's a lot of uh great benefits to having great PR, right? And if they could hold on to that, it would do very well for PlayStation. But I don't see them doing that. If anything, I think the latest that they'll do is next year, for 2026, and I think the earliest that they'll probably announce it is similar to Microsoft when their financials come out, because I think PlayStation has their financial statements come out for the quarter for in May. I think it's mid-May, so in a couple weeks. So I could see them similar to Microsoft after they do their financial statements and they then have the announcement that they are also increasing their prices.
Yeah.
Um, I think that's probably the most likely scenario. Um, because yeah, like when you're in a industry and everybody in the industry is increasing prices, you're not going to be the one man out who's not. Like that's just
That's true.
quote unquote free money on the table, right? Like you got a free excuse to essentially make more money. Like, oh, everybody's doing it, I can do it too, you know. And now you won't be the bad guy because Nintendo and Xbox have essentially taken the bullet for you, you know? So by the time you do it, you won't look as terrible because everybody else has done it already too, right? You're just following suit essentially, right?
Uh,
Um
I'm sure.
and
I'm sure some of the podcasts will tell it. The moment PlayStation does it, it's PlayStation's fault.
the moment PlayStation does it, okay, I'm putting out a tweet and I will be blaming Xbox for this. And I'm going to tell you why. People say, you should blame Nintendo, right? Because they were the first ones to do it, right? But no, because when PlayStation raised their prices to $70, they were not the first ones to do it, okay?
True.
It was 2K. And nobody blamed 2K. It was PlayStation's fault. PlayStation was the reason games they started the $70. They're the reason $70 was the new price for the generation. It was all PlayStation's fault, even though they were the second publisher to do it. So since Xbox is the second publisher to do the $80 thing, they will
It's
be
their
getting the
fault.
blame for me. I will be blaming Xbox for this price hike, and I don't care. Y'all can cry in my comments. They can up. No, it was Nintendo. No, 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 no. That's not the rule. The rule is the second who does it is the person at fault. So because Xbox was second, they will be catching the blame from me for this price hike. But right now, especially with the fact that they've already cemented that Ghost of Yotai will be $70, PlayStation is the more consumer friendly publisher at the moment because Xbox is going to be releasing their little holiday games at $80, as they've already stated this year. So I'm guessing Call of Duty and whatever other maybe surprise game that they had for the holiday will be $80. But PlayStation, the more consumer friendly company, will be releasing their AAA game that will be a Game of the Year contender at 70. So yeah, it seems like the new crown for consumer friendliness goes to PlayStation. And that's how I feel, and I'm sticking to it. I don't care what they say. Y'all listen. I don't care what these dudes say. This is all Xbox's fault. Okay.
Yeah.
I will be blaming Phil Spencer personally. He will be getting a notarized letter from me
Not
blaming him for
notarized
these,
though.
blaming him for this $80 price increase. Okay. Listen. Their games today are barely worth 70. A lot of them.
Yeah, a
So
lot of
to
them are.
think that they can be $80. First of all, Call of Duty has no business being $80. I'm gonna let
Yeah,
you know that right now.
it definitely doesn't.
I don't give a damn how much content Call of Duty has. Listen, it's not like they release a new damn COD every year. Okay, it's not like they're innovating that bitch and bringing in a new experience with every freaking Call of Duty. They're copying and pasting most of that crap and repackaging it and reselling it in just a new title, right? And it's like it's gotten so bad that they've had to go back to kind of remake essentially the older ones that people really liked, right? Kind of revisit the old Black Ops and stuff like that because that's what people really enjoyed. That's what people really enjoyed Call of Duty because people really don't care for it now. Like it's really just floating based on the IP and the name at this
Yeah,
point.
essentially.
Um, and this is coming from somebody who used to be a COD fan. No, this has absolutely nothing to do with the fact that Xbox owns it now. Call of Duty would be trash regardless of Xbox it being independent. If PlayStation bought it, it would just it always would be like that's just that's just the unfortunate truth of Call of Duty. And I get people love it, but I'm like let's be honest, it's not the same. And Call of Duty is one of those things that I think needs to be how I feel about most live service games, where they need to be one price when you buy it, and then they just do updates. Okay, and maybe you could charge like $10-$20 for these little updates or something, but to try to repackage it and sell it for full price every freaking year, right? Just for it to be irrelevant the next year,
Yeah.
because essentially everybody, at least the main people or the casuals, they move on to the next Call of Duty when the new Call of Duty comes out. They don't go to the other one. It's very rare that everybody just stays with the old COD. Everybody just kind of moves on. So why am I spending a fresh $80 every year for the same shit?
True.
Um, yeah, so Xbox, they can kick rocks with that bullshit. I would not. I haven't been buying Call of Duty. Like, I think did I buy the last year? Wait, which one did we bought the last
Yeah,
one?
the one that's technically this year, but yeah, it's this year's COD, but
Yeah,
it comes out at the end of last year. Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, um, COD, yeah, can kick rocks. But again, this is all on Xbox. This is not because of tariffs. Tariffs are an excuse. This is a whole they spreading this shit worldwide. It's a price hike everywhere, right? United States included. Funny enough, again, people were trying to blame PlayStation for this situation because oh, PlayStation, they hiked prices up too. They hiked prices up in select markets. It was not worldwide. Okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, Xbox just they ripped the band-aid off. They say everybody gets a bullet. Even the market that they don't even dominate anymore, but it's their home market of the United States got this price hike as well. So it's just everybody's got to bite the bullet. Um, again, this is why the executives of Xbox have kind of moved away from Twitter. They've all been slowly migrating and not talking on the site anymore, right? Not quote tweeting people and liking and commenting and stuff like that. Like, listen, they knew once they got Activision, these are the types of things that would happen, right? They're not the mom and pop shop of Xbox they used to be, right? Now that Microsoft is paying attention and Microsoft holds the money, they can't be the friendly, neighborhood gaming publisher like they used to be, right? They gotta everything's gotta be business now.
Yeah.
But yeah, good luck. People are trying to say, oh, this just makes Game Pass like a far better deal now. um it's so great because this is fine because I got Game Pass. It's like, so Xbox is allowed to just do whatever the hell they want as long as you have Game Pass. Like they're allowed to raise prices on consoles and games, and it's fine because you have a subscription service that alleviates Xbox from any type of accountability for this situation. Like, no, people got to stand on it because, like, when PlayStation does it, I'm gonna talk shit too because PlayStation has no business doing it as well. Especially with, I know when their financials come out, they're gonna be mostly positive,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
I think the last one they had record breaking, like, um sales. Like, it was like their highest revenue or something like that for one of their metrics. So it's just like, you're doing better than ever, right? The PS5 is on track to outsell the PS4, and yet you're also still raising prices. There's no excuse for that. Um, but yeah, I've ranted long enough. This is all Xbox's fault. Um, yeah, I'm gonna end it on that.
Nah, I get you. Yeah, and before you had said it, I know you can't see the chat because you're moving around, but Hero had said the theory that you said, that this is their idea to kind of get out of
Listen,
get out of the
listen.
market of hardware specifically.
Like, if this isn't their last generation as far as the Series X and S, I feel like this next PC hybrid thing that supposedly, again, we don't even know if that is actually happening. Okay, people keep saying that so definitively as if that's the truth. But if that is a thing, I can see that being kind of the little, the dipping their people's Xbox players' toe into PC so they can kind of just push them towards PC. Like, we gave you a PC console hybrid, and now we're done. So since you've enjoyed your PC experience, go over there. Go play our games on PC now. Like, we're kind of done with our hardware. But yeah, it just seems like that's the, like, only logical reason because, again, I get business. I get that tariffs are a thing and that they are a big uh drain on the profit and revenue of these companies. But again, Microsoft is a $1 trillion company. At some point, they're gonna have to eat that bullet. you
Yeah,
know, you want to always, you know, you love it when people paint you as the consumer friendly company, right? Oh man, if anybody's gonna hold that torch for gamers, if anybody's here for the gamers, it's Xbox, right? They love us so much, they give us Game Pass. What incredible value! What incredible, um, um, you know, value for us as gamers, right? And just by the way, just because they didn't raise the prices of Game Pass does not mean that Game Pass prices are not going to rise. They're probably just going to wait until after the showcase to show you all the games they're going to get, and then be like, oh yeah, by the way, we're raising Game Pass. But
absolutely.
you know, you would think that in order to maintain this image, they might just kind of bite the bullet, or at least do what Nintendo did, where they moved their production to a different country to try to evade the tariffs. you know.
Yeah,
But no, no, Microsoft's just like, nah, we're good. We're gonna keep our things here, and we're gonna make sure that every customer, whether you're getting a console or a game, you're gonna pay for it. You're gonna pay for the fact that we have to endure these tariffs. So, oh well.
absolutely. Yeah, I don't. Oh boy, in wake of all this and still expensive eggs here, I don't know what they doing. Yeah, Henry said
Oh
it
yeah,
as well. He
exactly.
said Game Pass about to go up. Yeah, I mean, you're not
Yeah,
lying,
it's definitely about to go up.
which is why I got PC Game Pass. Well, I have Ultimate right now, but when that does happen, I know they not messing with
Yeah.
me. So
Yep, I'm going to PC Game Pass too because I have Ultimate just because it was on sale.
exactly.
Um, but it's about to get canceled anyway because there's unless they show something that I want, there's nothing else from Xbox that I'm gonna play. But when I do, it'll be right back on PC Game Pass.
Definitely. Omar, I price hikes, bro. Like, what's going on? How you feeling? How are you feeling about Xbox and their glorious, decision to raise prices at a time like this?
Okay, so let's give it a buck. Why is there even a price hike? Because we have shown them time and time again, we're gonna pay. Yes, collector edition, whatever, but when people are literally selling out of collector edition that cost 250, 350, you're showing developers and publishers, mostly publishers, that demand. If people want something, they're gonna pay for it. Price hike. Yeah, tariff, no tariff, it was tariff. Going back to $80 for Microsoft. It feels like this is Microsoft telling their people we're stepping out of the console industry. Let me explain what, because what point does it make? Morgan said it, but again, what point does it make to literally raise prices for a section that you're getting shredded in? Console sales, PlayStation selling what, 5 to 1 or something like that? Insane numbers. And now, this is the craziest part. A PlayStation luxurious item, the PlayStation Pro, cost less than Xbox 2 terabyte Series X. Yo, that's wild. Like, what does Xbox offer? They have an expensive console. They have an expensive console that have zero exclusivity, exclusives. So why would you ever invest in Xbox then?
They want you to invest in that
And
PC.
people gonna see called up console war. This is absolutely not console war. I'm strictly asking if you're a gamer and you wanna invest in in gaming, why would you buy a Series X when you one it doesn't have exclusive, two it's more expensive than PS5. If it's for Game Pass, PC Game Pass exists, dude. I yeah no. I'm part of me is willing, not willing, uh, hoping the PlayStation doesn't follow through. Mostly because it would be such a gigantic fuck you to the industry as a whole. I I do think we are heading toward 80. Nintendo opens the door, but I truly believe we talked about it last week. We were heading 80 next gen, but Xbox is like, yeah, no, hold my beer. We're starting this. We're starting now. So let me ask you then a simple question. And again, uh, quality is based on people on preference. What have Xbox produced that is worthy of a $70, let alone $80 this generation?
Mm, I mean, they haven't personally produced it, mainly anything. I mean, the only thing for me that was really worth it is Forza Horizon 5, but I play that and y'all don't, so.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Forza.
Personally, for me, nothing. But
Kev?
you have to remember though, they started this their first. They didn't start the $70.
No, they started with
Um,
60. But the thing is,
no, no, no. I'm just saying you have to also remember that they didn't start at the same time. That the first game that they thought was worth $70 was Redfall.
Oh
That was
God,
the
don't
first game they
remind me.
charged $70 for.
Uh, the craziest part is they have yet to release a game that worth $70 price wise. It could have been Fable or Perfect Dark.
Well, I think people will disagree with you on either Forza or, I mean, shortly here Doom, because a lot of people are massive Doom fans. So,
Yeah, okay. I get you on that end, but that's just a publisher that was just bought.
I
Um,
mean, but you said what did they produce? So, I mean,
yeah, okay, I get you.
yeah.
Um, th- yeah, Forza, I never played Forza, so I can comment about that. Doom, I am excited about the new Doom, like, let's keep the buck. But when you compare it to PlayStation, which produced multiple titles, and you can be a fan of it or not. Returnal, Ratchet and Clank, Ripped Apart, um, we're getting God of Yote, we're getting Death Stranding 2, and this is not next year, literally this year. So PlayStation been focusing on PlayStation 5 day one, while Xbox had to make games for last gen. To me, it's like you have yet to earn the $70 price tag. Why are you going 80? You're not even the market leader. Like, if the market leader went 80 and then you follow through, okay, I understand that. You're following the market leader, but the market leader didn't even go 80. Only Nintendo went. We didn't hear from publishers, uh, from Square Enix or whomever that their games are gonna be 80. Only Nintendo did. So, nah, this
Well, and
this
Nintendo cleared
truly.
that up really fast. That was only Mario Kart at this moment. They cleared
But
that up quickly.
I'm guessing it will be the big
with
three for them, like
but
Mario, Zelda, and what's the other one?
but
Forgot.
with Xbox, it's most of their games are gonna be 80. Like, yeah, it genuinely makes you question. Yeah, I listened to someone say something super true. Um, when people were asking why Microsoft didn't take the hit with tariff because of tariff because there are either billion, I think $1 trillion company, and the person said it's because they are $1 trillion company they didn't take the hit. You don't become $1 trillion company by taking hits and being nice. You gotta be ruthless. And to me, this is the one move that I think it's gonna bite them. It's absolutely gonna bite them. Their consoles are non-existent sales-wise. Their Xbox Game Pass are non-existent growth-wise. They're celebrate. They're what? They're talking about what? Game Pass PC. Like, where is Game Pass Xbox? Where is those numbers? We already know. They what? They're stuck at 30 million.
I mean, or
They had
lower. We don't. There's no growth
they
right now for them though.
they had Call of Duty in Game Pass day one, right?
Yeah.
Um, Hero Down Under. I wouldn't jump on that train just yet. Wait, I would wait. They can play it smart. They can either jump jump after the conference call. They can do it after God of GTA and Death Stranding 2 get released, or they can do it next year, or they can wait till next gen. I truly believe the industry is heading towards 80. Now, I'm gonna say something that I already said. For the people that go ahead, go out of their way and put in money, $320 and 250 for buying collector edition. Let's give it a buck. You guys are not gonna be hurt by that 80 price tag. Like, come on. That's literally a fraction for you guys. What, $10? $10 per game? Like, if you have the money to buy a collector edition, unless you save so much money that you're gonna buy it, I I think you need to step aside with this
Wait,
conversation.
hold on, hold on, hold on. Just
Yeah?
because you got money to buy a collector's edition doesn't mean you want to spend. You're up to spending more money. Like
Yeah,
people, just because people have money to buy collector's edition doesn't mean like they're okay with price increases. So that's just more money that they'll have to spend on collector's editions because the collector's editions will go up because of the fact that the base game
and
goes
they've
up.
definitely already gone up.
Um, yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't agree with that because it's regardless of whether you have money or not doesn't mean you want to spend more of it. Like that's never something somebody wants to do just because they got a little, extra income.
When we agree to disagree on that, and
No, we're not.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
we
that
mean,
makes no
are.
sense.
I
That
truly.
makes no sense, Omar.
yeah, I was like, I bought
That's
the
different.
collector's edition of stuff. You can't. Okay, so part of the problem with your viewpoint is again, this is why I keep telling people this because I know these are some of the main people you follow. You gotta stop measuring everybody else by the crazy shit that Jay Bari and fucking Persona do, because them niggas is crazy.
I'm not talking about them. I never even mentioned them.
No, but you. It's not
Mm,
about. It's not about you mentioning them. I know that you follow them and see it because everybody else sees it when
No,
they
no, no. I
hold.
swear
Wait
I
a
was
wait.
not
Let me
talking.
finish the point.
Okay.
Because they bought the $250 edition and they bought it digitally. Nobody else is doing that ridiculous bullshit. Like so they're not a metric. I have bought collector's editions. Collector's editions are things that people buy from games or collector's editions that they believe are really worth it. It's not a factor of oh, I can afford every collector's edition that comes out cuz I can't. So like you're equating that to every $80 game that comes out. So saying it won't affect you is not true cuz it will definitely affect me and I can afford to get a collector's edition here and there when I want it, when I believe it's worth it. So, yeah, your math is off there. That's all we're telling you. That it's not that it's not going to affect people, nor does it mean you're not going to think twice about spending that extra money. Because, number one, you're saying the $80 when a lot of the times a lot of us would get the deluxe edition or other things like that. So, if the standard edition is up, like Morgan was saying, everything else goes up. So now the deluxe edition is up and all the other stuff. So you're going to reevaluate on a more consistent basis what you're purchasing. So I know
I get you.
that you don't have that, but I'm telling you, as someone who can, and like the rest of us in here that have also bought collector's editions, it definitely affects us. So yeah, that's wrong. Now, are there
Okay.
some people that have an ample, unbelievable amount of expendable income? Absolutely. It'll be nothing to those people, but we are not those people. And the majority of gamers are not those people.
Okay. I got you on that end. Yeah, I know. I don't live in that world, so I have no experience in it. So yeah, first statement. My point was strictly about for the people that have that kind of money. That's what I was focusing on. And I truly wasn't even focusing on body and persona. I didn't even see that part.
Yeah, I'm not saying you're focusing on them. That's why I reiterated. I'm not just telling you about them.
Mm-hmm.
You said it the way you stated it is a universal thing for anyone who can afford those things. And that's why I said you're wrong because we all just told you that it definitely affects us. even though we have all
I got
bought
to
collector's
understand.
editions.
I
So
should have mentioned for the people that truly gaming is like a
yeah, you gotta
bucket.
you gotta be
Uh,
specific, and
yeah,
that's why I said there are
I,
people.
I should have been too specific.
Yeah,
It's
if
just
you're
me.
driving $100,000 vehicle, yeah, you probably don't care.
Yeah, that's what I meant. But yeah, no, I got you on that end. But at the end of the day, I do truly believe the industry was heading towards the 80. But then my question becomes, I have a quick question. One, what is too much? A 90? 100? And I'm talking about bait game. If you're gonna keep raising the price, what is too much? 100, 150? I'm exaggerating clearly, but like I'm genuinely asking, what is too much? That's number one. Number two, how much are the console gonna cost next gen? A minimum 700 to 1,000.
I mean, we got a couple years before we get to that point, so
I mean, do we? I think Microsoft going next gen, next year.
Gee,
like,
really?
yeah, we'll see about that.
Uh, yeah,
And
I mean, the rumors are 2027, but
Yeah,
okay.
they've already stated 2027. So
okay, then the year after, so 2 years. Um, mm, I'm curious how that is gonna impact them. Um, it and then the biggest outliner. How much is GTA 6 gonna cost?
$1
Well,
million.
I don't think it's gonna be 70.
it's not. I mean, the possibility for it being 70 was, there. It was a small possibility, but the fact that it's going to be 2026, it's definitely not going to be 70. It's going to be 80 at the least. Um,
At
but yeah,
minimum, you meant.
yeah,
that's
that's what
that's
the
what that
lease
means.
means.
That's what the least means.
Oh, my bad. Um, yeah, no, this industry is heading in the wrong direction. This topic is literally part of the first topic of the previous topic, which is we need to find a way to make the industry understand we don't want bigger games. We want better games. Like, look at this game right now. I know this game is not gonna be 80. I'm talking about hours. It's gonna be 30, 40. I'm gonna have fun with it and I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna be happy that I played it. Like, I don't know. Um, yeah. I think developers need to find a way between quality of life to improve their game. Uh, and the other thing is make their game less bloated. Remove fetch quests. Make side quests memorable. Yeah, I don't know what the solution is. It's
I
it's
mean,
frustrating.
none of that's gonna matter if you just simply get priced out. So
It's frustrating where the industry is heading. But hey, congratulations, Microsoft. You might have just shot yourself in the foot.
I mean,
Uh, uh,
they might have done exactly what they wanted.
I mean,
So
I
that's what they
mean,
always do. I should
it
have known this was going to happen because every
it
time something good happens with Xbox, they follow it by something. They just shoot themselves in the foot, like literally.
it it
So,
may it makes a
hmm
question as the better raise Game Pass price. If so, how much it's going to be?
yeah, I mean, it's more of a
it's
question of
definitely going to get
when.
raised.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's man, it's all these subscriptions raise in price. It's not a if,
Maybe
definitely
at
gonna happen.
Doom release.
no,
Maybe after the
I
showcase.
think Morgan's right. It's probably more so after the showcase, or
After
it's
the
either after
showcase,
the
yeah.
showcase or they're gonna wait for PlayStation to jump with their price.
Do you guys think PlayStation gonna follow through as well, or do you think they're gonna
Yeah,
wait?
yeah. this is only a matter of when they're gonna do it. It's not if.
So
They're
you
Yeah.
definitely
think
gonna
this
raise their
year,
prices.
this year or this gen?
This is a public agreement. Basically, what you're witnessing is a public agreement to raise prices when with Nintendo doing it, and then Microsoft stating that their games will be 80. Was it this at the end of the year? Is when they said.
The end of the year.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So like, I mean, you're
Holiday.
essentially agreeing with that. So honestly, the smart play, at least for PlayStation, if they are going to go up, like I said, if they really want to play it up, they should wait until next gen. But
That would be insane. Can you imagine having the best version of GTA 6 and costing less?
yeah, I mean,
No,
Well,
that no.
well,
but
no,
That's
no.
not
GTA
that's not
6 is
how
not
it
gonna.
works.
yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say
I picked up.
they would
Yeah,
designate that price. So
yeah, I fucked up on that end. Yeah, no. But still gonna be the better version, and
yeah,
you're gonna have the cheaper console to buy to use. Yeah, it's PlayStation have. They are literally right now able to deal the coup de draw to Xbox with this one.
yeah, I just think they should play it smart. They should wait as long as
They
they
can
can.
absolutely play it smart at the cost. Because I heard that PlayStation was one of the, or rather Sony was one of the people that actually took Trump threat seriously and uh, allocated their stuff to either
Yeah,
Japan or something else.
they moved a lot of their stock, and
Yeah,
they've brought a lot of their stock before the tariffs went in. So they're able. I think that's why they've been able to, fend off the price hike for a little while. But the question is, how much stock do they have, and how long can they keep doing it?
yeah.
Um, yeah,
But again, business wise, this move could literally put them at the top of the echelon if everyone in the industry is raising the price and they're staying at the same. At, at least till this gen. Next gen, they raise the price. We're gonna see that absolutely. Like the industry have decided 80 is the norm. My question then becomes: will next gen see a price hike as well? This is why I ask: what is too much until actual gamers, and I'm talking about people that have the money, they are also gonna say, I can't support this day one. It makes me genuine because this is what I said. This topic is a follow up to the previous topic because can, would we are we gonna see an actual crash next year if they raise the price to 90 or 100?
I don't think you're necessarily going to see a crash. What you're going to see is people reevaluate and essentially visit maybe being a one console owner again. And there's going to be a lot of people who are no longer, well, I have everything. Like that kind of thing is going out the window.
Yeah, but that's also gonna make the industry suffer. So, and
Hey, I
especially
mean,
casuals.
make stupid choices, win stupid prizes.
Yeah,
So,
precisely.
Yep.
So it we have an interesting era at our hand right now. It's gonna be interesting to see what they do. And trust me, I'm not being PG about it, or being nice. Like I genuinely have no idea what's gonna happen. It all depends on PlayStation move right now. The ball is in their corner, and they have absolutely the power to deal significant amount of damage. We're gonna see. It's gonna be interesting, that's for sure.
no, definitely. Weeb, uh, I know they've said plenty. Uh,
Yeah, Omar never shows up.
Wow. Okay. Next time I'm gonna time you when you talk so long, and then okay, we will see. Fine.
How you feel? How you feeling about the price hike. As the exclusive Xbox owner, you know, in the in the panel here.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't bought a single Xbox Series game this generation, so and I'm not planning to because why would I? I mean, you don't even own the game because of their always online DRM. So, I mean, I have Game Pass now. I don't like what Morgan said. Like I have at this point no real incentive to renew. You know, as soon as Nintendo opened the floodgates, it was gonna happen. And yeah, like you said, this is not like you know they they weren't planning this all along. Of course, we were planning this all along. It was just a matter of who's going to show their cards first.
Mm-hmm.
And they were all like waiting. Oh yeah, Nintendo's going to do it because they're going to launch their new console first. So yeah, of course, they're going to announce it and they're just going to wait until Nintendo does it and then drop their price increase. Um, I mean, okay, and yeah, they're doing it because they can. I mean, let's face it, nothing to do with the tariffs. They're just doing it because they can. They would have done it with or without tariffs. It just gives them a good excuse. I mean, that's what they all do. I mean, just like supermarkets are jacking up prices because they can, because they have plenty of excuses to do so. I mean, then there's inflation, then there's a war, and now it's tariffs. So they will always make whatever works for them, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, it is, you know, like I said, it's not surprising, but it's also quite laughable indeed. Like what has Xbox done warrant increasing their prices like this? You know, they finally have some decent games, I say, you know, with out of midnight, but like this is not it, you know, Microsoft. And yeah, the sinning in me kind of feels like they're doing this indeed to just make their entire console business irrelevant. You know, this really seems like sort of a cash cow situation, right? Like they're in a phase where they know they're not growing anymore, so they're just going to jack up prices as much as they can to increase the profit margins on whatever they little they sell at anyway. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I mean, considering how poor their sales are, I can't really blame them in thinking that this is the only way to make more money because they're not selling enough to yeah to, to make it ends meet. I mean indeed this as you said, like um, the bigger the company, the greedier they are. It's all about intercompany politics, right? You have to meet your targets, and the quickest way to do that is either to cut costs or to increase prices. And they have the opportunity to do both, and so that's why they're doing it. Um, yeah, I mean, what else is left to be said? Like Microsoft sucks. Yeah, we all knew it. We still know it, and yeah, I mean, I have no idle hope that Sony's not going to follow suit. I'd say make use of the time you have. You know, if you didn't buy a Pro yet, I mean, this might be a good time to get one. Buy buy the games. When they're still at their good low price of 70 or 80 in Europe. I mean, we're already paying 80 euros. I did notice one funny thing is
Gonna be
as
90,
soon
but
as soon as I saw one store as soon as we didn't have Ghost of Tsushima up yet, even though it was already announced when it was gonna release. And as soon as Microsoft announced their price hike, they also dropped the price of Ghost, but with 80 euros in my case. Like I find that incredibly funny. Like even stores are very opportunistic with this because they're like, yeah, people probably don't notice if we jack up the price anyway, because they're gonna expect the prices to be 80 as well.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I mean, it's gonna happen, of course. I mean, the thing is, like, even if you weren't planning to do it, like, you would be crazy not to do it because you're seeing everybody else is doing it. People are expecting you to do it. Then just fucking do it, you know. Um, so yeah, I mean, it is what it. And the thing is, like, yeah, I mean, it's not hurting us, and if you have disposable income in the sense that you can no longer afford gaming, but it is gonna make you pause. I mean, yeah, of course we're gonna buy the games we want to buy,
Mm-hmm.
but you know, I mean, and I've heard it from other people too that I've talked to, like just like us, you know, they bought like, I don't know, 10 games a month or something, but when it was a good month, you know, with all the sales and stuff, right?
Yeah.
And I like, yeah, yeah, I might reconsider, like I might, you know, keep it to two a month or something like that. Yeah, that's gonna have an effect, and I think to answer Omar's question, yeah, what's enough? How high is enough? Like, well, to a point that they're gonna make less money with the decrease in sales cost by the price increase versus the increase in profit margins. Yeah, that's gonna be the turning point for them. Then they're gonna see declining results because of the price increase. Um, I don't think it's going to lead to a crash or anything, but they're gonna they're gonna, you know, fuck around and find out, and then they're gonna have a couple of games that are gonna have disappointing sales because they jack up the price too much, and then they have to come down again and to realize, yeah, you know, that was probably too much. And I'd say, you know, they can get away with 80 because they have been getting away with 80 in Europe, to be clear. So
Yeah.
it's not gonna. Probably interesting question is, are they gonna get away with 90 in Europe? Because that's kind of the psychological, you know, boundary, right? Because it's eking closer to 100,
Mm-hmm.
and once something is 100, that's, you know, That's that. Yeah, it's psychologically it's a lot of money because even though it's only $10 more than 90, it's still gonna psychologically gonna hit different. Like somebody once told me, like every time if you have to make a purchase that's above 100, yeah, just sleep a night, you know, over it, right? Sleep over because and see if the next day if you still think, okay, I have to spend that money, because yeah, it is, relatively speaking, a lot of money. Um, and yeah, that's gonna you know, put a lot of people obviously who are have a tight budget gonna reconsider. But on the other hand, yeah, even people who can afford it, like the same way, like, you know, going to the movie theater, you know, like if you have to spend more than 100, you know, bucks to go there with your family, like, yeah, you might reconsider that. I think,
Oh,
oh yeah, I
absolutely.
could do something else with that, or I don't know, just stay at home and watch Netflix or whatever. Like, there's absolutely a psychological barrier to that could, even if people could afford it, could push them to, yeah, not spend the money on it. Then there is always it's kind of the thing is, yeah, there's with luxury goods like gaming, sure, you can increase the pricing up to a certain point, where you get diminishing returns. And yeah, there's just something about that magical $100 euro uh, line that, yeah, you shouldn't cross. Because, and I know people say, yeah, but in the past, like I know I paid, well, it wasn't euros back then, but it was guilders back then. But yeah, I remember paying 120 for you know, for a Super or no Super N64 game. Yeah, but that's not exactly how it works, right? Because the problem as well is that people are always saying, yeah, you know, gaming got cheaper, consider if you compare to in the past. But gaming was much more niche hobby. If the further you go back, like of course prices will be higher in the time when sales were much lower, but they're earning way more money back. That's also the entire reason why they can afford to spend $100 million in the game, because they're gonna make billions back if the game sells well, right? So same way they make blockbuster movies, spending the 100 200 million dollars on it, because movies these days, can make a billion, right? And they, in the past, if a movie made a couple of million, that was a blockbuster, was a huge success, right? So that's just how it works. So you're gonna have you're gonna spend money to make money, right? If you can get back three times investment, that's considered a success, and that's why they're doing that. And the same way with games, like it always, when people say, yeah, cost ballooned, I always have the sort of the it feels like they're blaming us, the gamers, for, yeah, it's our fault that games are so expensive, right? Uh, no, it's not. Yeah, there, of course, there are extenuating factors, salaries, inflation, blah blah blah. But in the end, it's a choice. Like, if you are going to blame, Call of Duty players for expecting, the next Call of Duty to be bigger and have, top of line graphics and you know you know massive show set pieces and stuff like that. Like, yeah, but that's because you trained your audience to expect this. Like, that's your fault. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
don't blame us for yeah. You can't just go back to yeah, you know mom pop store version of Call of Duty. Like, you can go back. It's, the genie's out of the bottle. You created this expectation, and yeah, you're forced to kind of deliver on it, because you made it so, right. Yeah, if you don't want to do that, then yeah, you either take a risk and try to completely revamp it, or make something else, like a normal studio, right? Nobody is telling you have to keep making this game until perpetuity. But yeah, they're going to do it because, of course, it's the most profitable franchise. So I can't blame them for doing that. But
Hmm.
don't blame us, that we are expecting, this level of fidelity and these production values. Yeah, you kind of, and it is kind of stupid as well, because they're complaining about when they were actually raking in money, right? They wouldn't be doing this if it wasn't worth the investment. And the only risk you have, indeed, if you're making a new IP, yeah, you don't know if it's going to land, and that's a huge risk. And the only ones who can really afford doing that are, yeah, the bigger, companies, the third party publishers, the first party publishers. Yeah, they can afford to do that. So yeah, I'd say, that don't complain too much about the cost. Just make a great game. We already talked about, you don't necessarily need to spend $100 million doing so. And yeah, I mean, in the end, yeah, they're gonna, of course, gonna do it. All of them, including Sony, is gonna increase those prices, and yeah, we're gonna be the suckers who are gonna pay for it. But yeah, I mean, I'd say, for me, I will still keep on buying the games I want to play, but and this partially also because of what we talked about the time issue, that I just noticed that I don't have the time, to play all the games I want to play.
Hmm.
Um, and that might also make me a bit more conservative in buying games, because I have plenty of games that I just bought because yeah, like, yeah, maybe I'll like it, and I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm just gonna just spend the money on games that I know for sure gonna like. Um, and yeah, everything else, like, yeah, I mean, I don't, I know I'm not gonna get the time for it anyway, so I'm just gonna leave it, and maybe maybe it's gonna come on PlayStation Plus some point. Maybe it's uh, I'll pick it up at a steep discount. But yeah, I don't really feel like then that I'm gonna spend the money. And that's again the thing is like if you okay, now it's 70, but I mean, and I buy, I buy physical. I have my connection, so I never pay full price. So for me, like the barrier to just pre-order a game, even though I know I'm gonna get around to it for at least 6 months or something, is fine because psychologically it's not that high of a hurdle to buy that game because it's relatively cheap, and generally it seems like it gets cheaper. It feels, I'm fine with it because, on the other hand, like if I wait, maybe it gets sold out, and then I have to pick it up at a higher price at some point. You never know, right? But if they raise the prices too high, or at least with 80, like yeah, I might reconsider because I'm like, yeah, I mean, I could. It's not that they can't afford it, but like I don't want to just waste money then. Feels like wasting money, right? 80 is a lot more, or 90, is a lot more than 50, 60, yeah, or 70 these days.
It definitely
Because
is.
yeah, and again, it's a small increase, marginally increase if you actually look at it, but and of course it adds up, in the end. So yeah, like if you have to spend that every month, or like a few times a month, yeah, in the end it adds up. I mean, and it's not just games that are going to increase price. Everything has increased in price. I mean, we talked about it. So
Oh yeah.
uh, yeah, so yeah, I mean they're gonna do it. Of course, they're gonna. We're not gonna be able to stop that, unless we decide not to buy the games anymore. But yeah, they're gonna. It's a risk. It's sort of a, I guess, chicken egg thing where they're like, yeah, okay, our budgets are ballooning, so the risk increases. So and we see plenty of games now having disappointing results because of they didn't sell as much as they hoped, and even though they spent a shit ton of money on it, and they're like, okay, yeah, we're gonna sort of cover the risk a bit there by increasing the price, right? So yeah, if even if sales are disappointing, we still have more revenue. But yeah, that can also come back to bite you because there's also, I think, a higher risk that some games will fail now because people will have like, yeah, I'm not going to take a chance on this because that's a lot of money for
Yeah,
for a
I'm
game
definitely
that
not
I
taking a
might not
chance
like.
on 80. Like, absolutely not.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, we'll see how this if this gamble pays off, but. I'm a bit skeptical about it. I think that we're going to see more games yeah, failing now because failing meeting expectations because yeah, people will be a bit more reluctant to take a chance.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. With that said, we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here because we just crossed the 3 hour mark. So I am going to call it. We'll save.
Long time not done so, but
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we'll save the rest for another time. Um, but yeah, man. Like the chat said, plenty of guys in the chat saying, they're definitely reevaluating what games and how many games at least they're buying full price per year. Um, so yeah, I definitely get that. Or like we said, people finding other ways to get around it by game sharing, splitting the cost, whatever you can do to kind of keep up with your hobby at this point. But yeah, like I said, with that, we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Um, Weeb, let the people know where they can find you, sir.
You can find me on Twitter as the Weep Sheriff at Infinite Rhizome and also on Blue Sky. And yeah, great job, Auto Nation.
Otter
Otter
Nation.
Nation.
Morgan, let the people know where they can find you, ma'am.
Yes, you can also find me on Twitter at ChillBandit, but right now I'm gonna be on PlayStation finishing up a great indie called Expedition 33. Um, Hopefully it'll be done by next week and you know, move on to the 75 other games that I have to play.
Right.
But yeah, great time for gaming. Not so great as far as the industry goes, but hey, there's still some stellar games out there. So keep playing your games. See you guys next week. Otter Nation.
Otter
Pollination.
Nation. Uh, and Omar, let the people know where they can find you, sir.
Great show. Shout out to everyone who came through. Hit the like button, share the stream out. You can find me at Caravan with Kotab on Twitter and Vitamin G podcast every Monday, 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Play your game, play Expedition 33, absolutely. And most importantly, play your game.
Yeah, and I am your host, Innate, also known as the Real Innate on Twitter and Blue Sky. Uh, and of course, like Morgan said, it's all about Expedition 33 right now. Shout out to Hero. He said he bought it twice. He said when he
Oh,
took a
damn.
chance on
Nice.
it. Yeah. Yeah, we'll probably end up doing the same. Probably end up having it bought on Steam as well. Just really want to support these guys with the phenomenal work they did. Honestly, this game is absolutely insane on so many levels, so many versatile builds, so many different things I've seen people discover in the world, and it's just filled with so many things. Memes, some stuff Morgan showed me, um, like the everything's fine while you're sitting in a fire. Um, but yeah, like I said, we're about to go enjoy all that. At the moment, you can find me in the kitchen because I'm about to get some food. But
Me too. I feel you on that end.
definitely. But yeah, thank you for everybody who joined us. The chat was lit, participating, and yeah, I agree with Hero that if the intergalactic is the game that I think it's going to be, that Naughty Dog is capable of, and that collector's edition happens to be a ship, I'm probably gonna have to do everything I can to get that because I really, really like that ship. So I think they'd be smart to do that. But yeah, we're gonna go ahead and get up out of here. Shout out to Kay, who should be watching the Borderlands trailer today.
She is insane with her Wukong. She's
Yeah,
going ham.
she's having a lot of fun with it. But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll visit that next week. And other than that, we're up out of here. Peace.